Hey, you're listening to Coach Scott Demore of TNA Team Canada, and you're listening to The Blaze, 1260 AM.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Welcome to the Wrestling Epicenter here on the Blaze, 1260 AM. It's James Walsh, and as always by my boy Chuck D. And today we got a killer show for you. Francine should be calling in here momentarily. Today on the program we have TNA Team Canada spokesperson Scott Demore, as well as the legendary Typhoon from the WWE. Chuck, how you doing this week?
I'm doing good, man. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. I think we want to start out with a little bit of news and notes. It's been kind of a busy week since we've last been on the air here in the world of professional wrestling.
It's always a busy week.
I don't know in what order exactly to start, but I think I want to talk out first off about Jackie Gaeta getting signed to TNA. Francine's calling it right now. I need you to take this, so hold on.
Absolutely. Jackie Gaeta signed with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. It's pretty much understood that she will be Raven's girlfriend of all things, and that could be very good for both Raven and Jackie Gaeta. Hopefully we'll see Charlie Haas joining them shortly.
Hey, Francine, are you with us?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you? We're just talking a little bit about Jackie Gaeta signing up with TNA and how she may be, in fact, the mystery girl of Raven.
Really?
Yeah, that's the rumor.
Oh, that's different, huh?
Yeah, you know, the rumor going around, Francine, was that it could possibly be you.
Well, yeah, that could possibly be true. Then again, it could possibly be not. Yeah, I don't think it's me. And
well,
if it is, somebody better tell me because I missed the taping.
And they better do it fast, right? Because
yeah, because I wasn't there, so.
Well, listen, you did a Hardcore Homecoming this past weekend, correct?
I did. It was such a nostalgic night. It was wonderful. I was just saying, if every show that I do could be like that, I would be in love with wrestling all over again. I had the best time. It was just great. Just again, just seeing everybody working the arena is phenomenal in itself. The fans, they were all there. It was 1996 again. I know I said that the last time, but it brought me back, and it was just so good to work with those people again. And Shane and Gary had a great match, and I was involved a lot in it, and it was just a wonderful night for everybody, I think.
A little bit of sadness on your part, maybe just a little bit of sadness, knowing
it was because, as we know it, that was the last Hardcore Homecoming show. So I, looking up at the monitor, I did get choked up, and being in the ring and just after the match, they just applauded us and just chanted thank you, and it overwhelmed me, and I'm waving at these people, and I'm getting out of the ring, and I said that might be the last time I ever do that in that building, with this group of people. So it was sad, but I was just happy because it was just a good night, and I had a lot of fun.
It's always good to end things on a positive note, which is kind of sounded like it went down.
It was wonderful, yeah, and the match was great, and I believe it's going to be on DVD, so you should all check hardcorehomecoming.com.
I had read that somebody had filmed it and they're going to release it under the name November Rain, so hopefully they will.
Yeah, I mean they were filming. There was a hard camera and there was a handheld, and they said it was going to be on DVD. So I'm looking forward to getting a copy because I did fall out of my top.
Oh boy.
So that'll probably make.
How does that make you feel when things like that happen and go wrong?
Not too good.
Do you feel bad about it?
I feel a little embarrassed. Yeah. But,
he said, do you feel badly about it?
I feel really bad about it, yeah, but, if it made somebody smile, hey, what can you do?
Well, it's funny, we were interviewing Tugboat, or Typhoon, formerly of the WWE. He goes by Fred Ottman now, his real name.
Okay.
We were talking to him about his Shockmaster entrance, which we'll hear a little bit later on in the interview, and this is completely where he just kind of like fell over, right?
Yeah, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to take that clip, because I actually have it on the computer, and throw it up on the website when we put up the interview, just so people can see it. What happened was, a pyro went off, and he was supposed to bust through a wall. Well, the top of the wall busted out, but where his feet were, didn't. And he went face first into the floor. Boom.
Oh, that poor guy.
Well, the moral of the story was that, these things happen, and he's able to laugh about it and says, whatever. So, it ain't that bad. You fell out of your top, you know.
Well, Gary actually, it wasn't me. Gary actually kind of ripped it off me.
Oh boy.
So it wasn't kind of, it wasn't kind of like, hey, my nipples out. Let me tuck that back in. It was kind of like he ripped it off.
Well, that was nice of him.
Hey, he's a great guy. How can what every woman dreams of.
Yeah, right. Hey, we're in front of a few thousand people. Why don't you rip my top off?
Yeah, he also bent me over and spanked me a little bit and choked me out with his big. It was a dog collar match, so I got choked out with the chain as well.
This guy seems a little aggressive.
It dates back to 96, 97 when
you broke his neck.
I turned on him and left for Shane, and we broke his neck, so to speak. So,
right.
Well, actually, Shane broke his neck. I watched and cheered, but yeah, I think he's a little mad about that. So.
Well, we're glad to hear. We're glad to hear that all came off very well.
I guess you could say that's his revenge, then, huh?
Yeah, Gary got his revenge, and you'll see it all on DVD. It was overall, it was a great night, and it had some great matches on it, and we got to see the former Spike Dudley in action, and Team 3D, and Sabu, and Terry Funk, and I mean the list goes on, just incredible, and Jerry Lynn, and the surprises. Everybody I think knows by now was Lance Storm was there, and it was just a great night. So
it's good to see Lance is getting back out on the independent scene. I heard that he's going to go working for Ring of Honor coming up soon.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if he's wrestling, but he's doing something with them. I think he's shooting like a shoot interview, and he's going to be doing something there. So
well, we know something about that. Never mind. Shoot interviews. Never mind. Let's.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about that next week. We'll break that surprise, I guess you could say. But I do have a little surprise. If you were looking on the website, I kind of was teasing at people that we had one surprise to announce this week. We're going to hold the other one off until Monday on the website just to make sure we don't get trumped on that surprise. But we do have 2 new people working for the website. And that is Rodney Mack and Jazz is now going to be posting on our forums.
I love them. I love that couple.
Yes, and they were so nice. I was so shocked to see that. They're going to be joining us in 2 weeks for an interview, and next week they'll be on the forums, so everybody check that out.
They're an awesome couple in real life and a badass wrestling duo on screen, and I love them both dearly. So I'm so happy about that. That's great news.
Right on. Well, I want to get back to a little bit of the news and notes that I was talking about early on in the show. We started out with Jackie Gaeta being signed. We kind of touched on that. But another big headline kind of making huge waves in the wrestling industry is Dave Batista is apparently out for months. He's out of
I read that he got injured or something.
Yeah, what happened was he was trying to pick Vader up for a spine buster. Apparently Vader didn't jump and was a little bit too heavy for even that jacked man of Batista to pick him up and set him back down. And he ended up tearing one of his lat muscles, which I guess is extremely painful. And, apparently Vader's gone from the company now, too, because of it.
What?
Yeah.
They fired him?
Yeah, they told him, listen, don't call us, we'll call you.
Wow.
I didn't hear that until now.
Yeah.
And you know what? Batista's so cute. He can't be off TV for too long. That's not good for the ladies who like.
Well, not only that, but he's also the current WWE Heavyweight Champion.
Well, they're probably going to have to strip him of the belt, don't you think?
They're either going to strip him, or I know he was going into like a mini feud with Edge. They were having Edge go over from Raw, so maybe they'll do something with the Money in the Bank thing, and Edge will use that for the world title and somehow end up on Raw with the SmackDown
belt. Huh?
Yeah, maybe so.
Wow. Well, that's really unfortunate because he was in the push of a lifetime there, and that's just bad timing. So, in all seriousness, that's a really bad injury.
It is, and the WWE creative team has a little bit of a conundrum in front of them as to what do they do now. They might go with Edge, but there's no guarantee Batista's even able to go out there and perform in any kind of match. I mean, you can't obviously have Edge just come out and destroy Batista. It doesn't really make sense.
Well, he did
storyline-wise.
He did come out and work a 3-minute match with Randy Orton, even with the injury, did Batista. So he can probably go out there and do something, though don't expect 5 stars out of it.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's a good match right there that should happen, and Randy Orton ought to get the strap back.
Maybe so.
Do you think it's wrong to just let Batista come out and just cut a promo explaining what really happened and, doing an angle that way? I mean, I think I would appreciate that more.
See, that's like a thing where that's what ECW would do.
Yeah,
I know that the fans expected honesty from ECW. I don't think the WWE fans understand or appreciate honesty, so I think they'd be confused by that.
I think it would just be pretty good because then you could have Batista in the ring wholeheartedly, emotionally, giving up the title that he worked so hard for, and then Edge comes down and chastises him, and they could do a little angle that way. Just something, just, I don't know.
They have a lot of options. I think another way they could go is maybe Batista can't be in a hardcore feud, but, he's been in and out of feuds for since his title reign. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why they can't feed this guy a few local jobbers as they go to cities. I mean, we're talking for a few months. It's not a desirable situation to be put in, but it's a way to, keep him having the title. I don't really know if there's too many other people on SmackDown that are going to be able to carry that.
Is he cleared to wrestle? That's the problem. Or the doctor saying, you can still work, or is he on the shelf?
Well, I mean, you get a good guy in there that can bounce around a little bit. I don't know how much. It's really not clear. It just recently happened at the SmackDown taping.
It happened just last night, and today he was out in Alabama at Dr. Andrews, who's supposedly the best in his field. Mm-hmm. So he's taken a look at him, did some MRIs today. I guess it'll be a couple days until we get those results back. I don't exactly know the medical implications of how long an MRI takes, but he's having it done.
If you ask any of the boys, they'll work hurt because they don't want to give up their spot.
Right.
But, if the doctor says, hey, you got to sit down because this is a life-threatening injury or whatever, then you got to think, okay, is it better to be out for 3 to 6 months and then come back healthy, or should I continue this and risk my career?
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it's a career, threatening injury or whatever.
Man, it's like an injury that Shawn Michaels suffered back in '98. He got hurt, and he had to decide, am I going to continue and work hurt and possibly end up in a wheelchair, or am I going to take 4 years off and come back and still be able to work and, be happy and healthy? And that's a tough decision, and I don't think most people would have made the decision he made. But
a lot of people don't look at the long term. They live for today, and in wrestling, I think you got to look for the long term because, God forbid you go in that ring and something happens, your career could be done in a second.
Well, why don't we talk about the second major news story that's been making waves this week? It's obviously Christian. He's expected to show up at the TNA Genesis pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. We talked a little bit about this in our interview with Coach Scott D'Amore from TNA. This week we're going to air it, and he says where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, it's going to happen. He's going to be there this Sunday, and the cool thing is, just this morning, if you look at the U.S., I guess, Copyright Office or whatever, Christian actually is copyrighted now, the name, Christian Cage, so that's what it'll be going under.
And I also believe Captain Charisma is copyrighted as well.
Yeah, but the lucky thing for him, though, is he cannot use the name just Christian. However, he did wrestle previously under the name Christian Cage, so what he's going to be known as now is Christian Cage.
I think that's a great coup for TNA. I think, I said it a million times, I think Christian was underutilized in WWE. I was a big fan of Christian. I thought he had a lot of charisma. I thought he brought something different to the table, and hopefully he'll be able to shine in TNA. I'm sure they'll push him to the moon.
I think Lance Storm said it right when he was on our show. He said that Christian was always ridiculously talented. He is ridiculously entertaining and ridiculously talented.
And he was over, too, and that's,
and they crushed him. I don't understand
why. I mean, I just wish him luck, that's too much talent not to be used somewhere, so, I think it's a coup for TNA, definitely.
Well, it's definitely an interesting discussion. We'll have to see how it all pans out. I definitely got to agree that it's going to be a bonus for TNA. But we want to take a quick break right now. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit of Raw. I want to start out by talking about Joey Styles calling Raw and what you guys think. So make sure you keep it locked right here to the Wrestling Epicenter on The Blaze, 1260 AM.
Call the Blaze request line at 480-965-1260. Request your favorite song. 480-965-1260. The Blaze, 1260 AM.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Dictionary, here on the Wrestling Epicenter. This week's term is
feud. A series of matches between two wrestlers or two tag teams. Usually face versus heel, though face feuds and heel feuds are not unknown.
This has been another edition of the Wrestling Dictionary, here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
The Blaze, 1260 AM.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Epicenter here on the Blaze 1260 AM. I want to remind everybody, just coming up in a little bit, we'll have TNA Team Canada spokesperson and coach Scott D'Amore, as well as WWE legend Typhoon. We're still here with Francine. It's James and Chuck, and we're going to discuss a little bit of Raw.
Yeah, this was an interesting Raw that we watched. There's a lot of things I liked, and I want to start out with the first thing, which was Joey Styles calling Raw. Now, I don't want to say the announce team was all golden here, because there were some problems I felt. I think the three-man team's a little bit of a cluster. I definitely think Joey Styles and Jerry the King Lawler had some phenomenal chemistry going on there. It was good to hear some people actually calling maneuvers by names.
Yeah.
It was kind of enlightening.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. We were on the phone during Raw, and I'm like, well, look, Shelton Benjamin just hit a running move off the ring apron. And JR, who I love, great announcer, would have just said, what a move or what an innovative move. Joey actually gave it a name. And that's the
Joey
difference.
Joey knows all the names. Joey's phenomenal. I liked Joey. I felt he, not so much, he looked a little out of place. I think because my heart just doesn't want him on this show. I think of him as ECW. I don't think of him as WWE.
Now, why don't you want him on the show?
Maybe I worded that wrong. I want him to succeed like I want everybody to succeed. But just, I don't know, like him sitting between those two, it just didn't look right. I would rather him be by himself.
I kind of would too, and that's something that we're getting at here, is Joey would go on something and he'd feed Lawler a line. And Lawler would come back with one of his perverted lines, and, you know, everybody laughs, ha-ha, it's funny. Coach has to jump in, and Coach kept really taking away the chemistry, I thought. I thought Coach was kind of a hindrance on the announce team.
You know what it was? A couple times I noticed Joey, like, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but they said, oh, we're doing a hardcore match. Oh, hardcore's right up my alley. Oh, this is extreme. He would go back and he would do little hints, like to his ECW days. And the other guys would either ignore it or just, oh, yeah, and just ignore, you know, just talk over it. Or like, he never even acknowledged where he came from or, I don't know. To me, that's just... I don't know.
That was one problem I had when I first started watching Raw this week. I was sitting there, and I heard Joey Styles announcing, but there's a lot of people out there who are new to the wrestling business, would say in the last 4 years, who may not know who Joey Styles is.
Yeah.
Those people have to be enlightened a little bit as to who this guy is, what, you know, gives him the right to announce Raw. I mean, because really, you don't want someone on there that has no history in the business. I think, you know, people want to be able to relate to him, understand where he's coming from, his roots, and, you know, give the guy some credibility right off the bat.
Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I think he did a great job of what he was given. Joey's one of the best announcers ever, in my opinion, and I'm not just saying that because he's a friend of mine. He's very talented. I think he could do Raw by himself if given the chance. He's just really, really good at his job. There was at times, I think they were stepping on each other's toes. They were talking over each other.
I really think it was Coach, and I love Coach. Don't get me wrong. I think Coach is a great character. I'd use him in a managerial role. But I think it was Coach that was just stepping in the way of him and Lawler, and I think Lawler did a phenomenal job, to be honest with you. And I was surprised at how well Lawler and Joey were able to know where each other was going, comic-wise. I mean, let's be honest. These guys got to play off each other, keep everybody entertained, even the casual fans. And
right.
They were playing off each other phenomenally, and I always felt that, you know, here's the Coach, and he just kept coming in and saying something stupid, like, well, that's why you're a part-timer or something like that, and nobody thought it was funny.
Did you think he was trying to, like, one-up Joey?
I don't know. I think a lot of this was pre-scripted.
Okay.
Well, let's also talk about what Joey was told to say. I mean, we mentioned that he didn't really say ECW letters, and to be honest with you, they're in their headset the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
They're wearing a headset for a reason, and that's because somebody's sitting there, maybe Vince himself, I don't know, saying, don't say this or say this. I mean, you can tell right off the bat that they were wrong because even Lawler made a mistake. Like, this is the 27th annual Survivor Series. And right away, all three of them were correcting each other. So you know that they were getting told instructions in their headset. And Mike Tenay, a couple years ago, I spoke to him. He said, you know, in WCW, and this is by no means the same as WWE, but I would assume it's similarly run, they're getting told exactly what they can and cannot hit on. And they might have told Joey flat out, listen, don't mention ECW.
Right. Well, I understand that part, but I'm saying I would have liked them to say, hey, here's his history.
Right.
You know, give the people who don't know who he is a little history lesson, because Joey's been around a long time. You know, and for me, he'll always be ECW. Again, I wish him the best of luck, and I think he did a great job. I want all my friends to be employed. no matter where it is. So I'm not saying that I don't want him on the show. I'm just saying it was weird to see him in the, on a WWE televised program to me. But I think he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement he did a phenomenal job. And someone else has been on Raw lately that's going to be my personal favorite here that's done a phenomenal job is Alexis Lurie. She's now known as Mickie James. She was paired with Trish Stratus, and I tell you what, she's got to be one of the most energetic and entertaining aspects of Raw I see every single week.
Yeah, it's a very cute gimmick. It's very cute, and there's a lot they can do with it. There's a lot of ways they can go with it, and Mickie is doing a great job.
I keep it going comical for the next 6 months. I don't think they have to rush it. Unfortunately, I think they're going to turn the corner and make her kind of like a freaky stalker eventually. But I think they should hold off on that a bit because I think there's a lot of room for comedy. Like just this week, they're in the ring cutting a promo, and she cuts a promo about how great Trish Stratus is in the middle of all this big serious stuff.
Of Bischoff, right?
Yeah, Bischoff's like, okay, right.
Maybe it'll be like single white female. Towards the end, she's still obsessed with her, and just like they did the Halloween costume.
Yeah.
She was dressed as Trish. I mean, I think they're going the single white female route. That's my prediction.
I think I would tend to agree with you on that. I don't really see any other way they can go. But
Right.
I think if they're smart, they'll play it out for a long period of time because there's a lot going on right now in the women, which, I love to see. Candice Michelle, I really thought kind of stepped up her game this week. I thought she did phenomenal. She took a couple bumps, played a major part in this match with teaming with Victoria, and I thought it came off tremendously.
And just last week you were asking what she was trying to do in the corner, and I think we saw what she was attempting just last week when she locked that backwards, kind of tarantula-ish kind of move.
And I also know why she carries a wand with her now.
Yes.
That answered my question as well. So, yeah, the girls, there was one point that the girls were kind of, not doing that much, and now they're back into it. So it's getting exciting again, and I don't know so much if it's a women's division, but I mean, at least they're doing stuff, so that's always a good thing.
Well, the bottom line is they realize what we all realize, and that is, sex can sell.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
I'll be honest with you, and I'm not kissing up here. I think a lot of people were tuning into ECW because they had such beautiful women.
Well, thank you. but we just didn't stand there. We did stuff.
Yeah, you did stuff. You were the only company that you could turn on at the time and see get pile-driven. Or
we were always getting beat up.
Right. You were the only company that actually had the women getting beat up, whereas WWE, had just like the girls coming out and doing, contests, like wearing T-shirts and trying to sell merchandise.
Right. Well, I think you're, deep down, a guy likes to see a girl get thrown around. And
wow.
Not condoning violence or anything, but I mean that was a problem with TNN, the domestic violence issue.
And I love to throw them around. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said I love to throw them around. I gotta be honest.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, Chuck gave me this.
Yeah,
Chuck, can I give you this quote that you gave me?
No.
Okay. You gave me a really dirty quote one time about I can't say it.
We're on the radio, kid.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, I got to go off on what I didn't like about Raw. And what I did not like about Raw, by the way, we're doing a little bit of a different format this week.
I noticed. I'm going with it.
All right, good. What I didn't like about Raw was the whole Rob Conway-Ric Flair match. Now, I'm sure that you're going to disagree with me on this, but I really thought that it was a detriment to have Flair make this kid tap out. Any thoughts? Well, here's why. For the past 2 months on WWE Heat and on Raw, to be fair, he's been getting in the ring with legends. Now, whether I like it or not, whether I agree with it or not, Ric Flair is a legend. He's still able to go in the ring, unlike a lot of the other legends, but he is a legend. So when you have this guy get in the ring with Ric Flair, who just happens to be the Intercontinental Champion, it seems like it would make sense to me that somehow, one way or the other, he'd walk out either with a win or with a reason to hold his head held high after being in the ring with such a guy. And making him tap out to him, it does not give him that opportunity to raise his head high. Now, I'll give you an example of how the fans seem to want to see this happen. Triple H starts walking down to the ring. He's holding a chain in his hand. Ric Flair's head just happens to be right by the rope. The referee's looking right in Conway's face. The crowd thinks they sense what's happening, that Flair's going to get punched in the head, pass out, and Conway's going to get the pin while locked in the figure four. Nope. He just taps out right before Triple H gets there. And it just did nothing for nobody. And I just don't think the Intercontinental title belongs to somebody like Flair, because whether I agree with it or not, I think that he's way above that title.
I mean, I guess it's an interesting slant on everything. I don't know. It comes down to this. Ric Flair and Triple H draw more than Rob Conway does currently, so therefore Conway gets the loss. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
Well, that's what you think, but here's the deal, though, dude. If you're going to talk about building new stars and a youth movement and all these things that they keep mentioning on the show, eventually a young guy has got to beat an old guy. And that means Flair's got to go down at some point.
I mean,
but James, Rob Conway has been beating old guys, in quotation marks, for the last month or so.
Right, I know. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that, personally, I wouldn't even put them in the ring together. But
well, that's what I'm saying. It goes to show you that they used Rob Conway just to segue into Rick and Triple H.
Right, I would not even.
He really
put him
had
in that
no
match.
significance in this match.
Right, he was just a body, basically. And I kind of felt bad because they could have put anybody in there for that. They could have put Rene Dupree in there for that and had him, because they're not even using him on TV right now. So just,
don't feel bad, because if he wasn't used here, he wouldn't have been on the show.
Exactly my point. Even if these guys are losing, at least they're getting TV time. There are people like Rene Dupree who are on the WWE roster and get no TV time, or they get some internet slot.
Or they're on that unlimited that nobody sees on the internet.
I don't even know how to download it, I don't think.
I don't even know. I thought Heat was still on MTV. Look at me.
Yeah.
I mean, what is wrong with me? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
This guy, they semi-pushed him. They're doing the Legends gimmick or whatever. He comes in with Ric Flair. If Flair's going to go over, segues into Triple H. At least the guy was on television. He's getting a payday. He's on Raw.
And he gets to wrestle Ric Flair, whether I agree with it or not. But I
exactly,
just
and that's
a
rub.
I don't think it's a rub once a guy loses for 6 months in a while. I just want to compare real, and we never really cover SmackDown. But hear me out here. On SmackDown's last pay-per-view, every young star won a match. On Taboo Tuesday, just last week, every young star in the company got buried. They either lost to an older guy or they got pinned. They were all buried by an older star. Even Rob Conway, who we're discussing, got pinned by Jimmy Snuka.
Can I interject one thought here?
What's that?
We're talking about SmackDown and how their younger stars go over. Who does the bigger buy rates? No Mercy was SmackDown's last pay-per-view, and it was the worst pay-per-view of the year.
Well, it was not the worst pay-per-view quality-wise.
No, it did the worst buy rates of the whole year. So that tells me that you maybe need to sprinkle in some of those older gentlemen that can still go in there and wrestle around, give the fans a show, have some name recognition. That's critical.
Dude, I am the biggest Hulk Hogan fan. I mark out when he goes out there. I love the older guys. I think it's phenomenal that they have some of the older guys still coming out there and doing things, especially when I never thought that we'd see this. After the past 5 years, these guys have all been on shows like ours, blasting Vince and saying Vince doesn't respect us, and now Vince is kind of giving them a spot again. I love that. But I think that they need to find a way to get the new generation of stars over.
Do you know what, though?
Making them tap out to the old generation is not going to get them over. It's saying they're not as good.
It kind of makes, really, though, for, I don't know, kind of an unfortunate situation, really, because now all these older guys are all kind of just waiting and hoping for a phone call that they may or may not get. And then we see with situations like Vader, he might come in, may put other plans on hold, and it ends up being kind of a wash. I mean, you make it sound like, everyone in the WWE is overtaken with people over 40. I mean, a lot of these people on the roster, like Triple H is not old.
Right.
I mean, he's been around for a long time in this business, but he's
Even
not
Shawn
old.
Michaels is not
Shawn
old.
Michaels is not old. This business is not overrun with older people, as you make it sound. There's a lot of young guys making a name for themselves as we speak.
Can I say something?
You are more than welcome to speak, Francine.
How long has Rob Conway been working on Raw?
A couple of years, most.
A couple years, most. Okay.
Right.
It usually takes a while before anybody gets their uber push.
Right.
You have to prove yourself. I was always taught it didn't matter whether you win or lose. It matters if you work.
Right.
You keep your mouth shut and you do what they tell you to do, and eventually everything turns around, everything comes in a circle, and eventually you're going to get your push.
Right.
And I think that Rob Conway is young enough.
Right.
He looks good. He's talented enough. It will come to him.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
But the way you're saying, well, Flair, Flair didn't have to go over here, blah blah blah. According to the way the story plays out, yeah, Flair did have to go over.
I don't agree with that for this reason. Is Triple H really chasing Ric Flair to win the Intercontinental Championship? I mean no disrespect to the Intercontinental title.
No, it's a grudge match.
I mean, no disrespect to that belt, but it does no good in this feud. So why not take that belt off of Flair and put it on somebody who can have another feud, And there you have 2 feuds instead of just one.
Well, listen, you got to have some semblance of believability as what's happening on your program. Is it believable that Rob Conway can totally, slap around Ric Flair, but then, the super heavyweight, alpha male wrestler Triple H can't even beat this guy?
If Triple H punches him in the head with a chain, yeah, I believe that Ric Flair would be done.
Is it said that Triple H is going after Flair for the belt?
Well, no, but the matches they had,
reason.
Even the match they had last pay-per-view at Taboo Tuesday was for the Intercontinental Championship.
I understand that.
And that's how I knew Flair was going over, because Triple H is just too far above that belt to even hold it.
But that's my point. Triple H isn't going after him for the belt. It's a grudge match.
Well, then why is it on Flair?
It goes beyond the belt.
I don't think it should be. Right. I don't think the belt should be on Flair. I think Triple H should screw Ric Flair out of the belt, which gives Flair more of a reason to be pissed off and more of a reason to still want to go after Triple H. At this point, what does Flair have? At this point, what does Flair have to prove to Triple H? He already beat him. He already beat him, being however many years older than he is. He beat the guy. Said, "Listen, I'm still as good as I ever was." He still won. And the bottom line is this: they got to move on. They got to find a way to get that belt off of Flair, because I don't think he should hold it.
They're going for the realism factor. They're going for it's something personal. The best friends, we've been best friends, blah blah blah. That's what they're going for. I don't think the belt means anything to Triple H, because he was the world heavyweight champion. Well, that's not why he's going after Flair. He's not after the belt. He's just after Flair for personal reasons, according to the storyline.
I agree, but there's somebody who would actually like to hold that belt. And,
exactly, right. but the writers feel that Flair should hold the belt right now.
Well, then I need to have a conversation with the writers, because I think they're dead wrong.
You need to just call them up and tell them. But unfortunately, Rob Conway was used as a filler in this match.
Yeah, it's a shame. I don't want to see young stars used like that. I want to see somebody that's
not really a shame, because, like I said, he worked, and I'm sure they'll do something else with him. I mean, it's not like that was his last night in the company, and he is a talent, and he does look good. So they'll throw him into something else.
And you know what? The guy still got paid.
And he got his pace exactly.
Yeah,
that's all that really matters. I mean, that's the whole bottom line in this.
It doesn't matter if you win. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. You can still pay your mortgage.
That's right. I'm sure Rob Conway is more than happy to take a $70,000 downside guarantee and lose a match to Ric Flair. I mean, worse things can happen to a guy.
I understand what you're saying about the belt and all, James. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't like to pick on you or anything, but I'm just, I don't think he's going to lose any credibility, because the way the WWE runs, I mean, 1 week, you have one gimmick, the next week you have another, then the next week you forgot about what happened 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, things change so rapidly. He could come back next week and win the title.
Right.
The heavyweight title. We don't know what's going to happen for this kid, so I don't think it's a deep push. I just think they had nothing for him this week.
No, I don't necessarily see it as a deep push either. All I'm saying is the belt just seems to be stagnant at this point, and I think that maybe taking it off of Flair, say he got screwed out of the match. Well, Flair doesn't lose anything, and in fact, it gives Flair more of a reason to be pissed at Triple H, because already he's beaten Triple H. So at that point, if I beat somebody, I'm already thinking, I've proven my point. What's next?
Maybe the writers are jotting notes down right now. As James is speaking.
Well, why don't we go from one title to another? Because we really just murdered this Ric Flair topic.
Yes,
this horse is dead and being slapped to death.
Let me say this. I've taken 6 psychology classes, so perhaps I'm just overthinking this thing.
No, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed your opinion.
Well, this is another thing that I want to touch on. As I said, we're going to switch belts here. Is this Kane and Big Show pairing? And I'll tell you what, at first I said, man, this sucks. Another gimmick tag team thrown together at the last minute. And already I'm a fan. It was that fast. These guys, when Kane cut that sick, twisted promo, and Big Show was like, hell yeah, my man, I love it.
They're lovable, aren't they?
I was like, this is good. Yeah. It's a great way for the tag team titles to get some much-needed recognition again. I mean, these are two, obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? These are obviously a couple big names, recognizable faces. Having them with those World Tag Team titles helps. And eventually, Cade and Murdoch are going to get these titles back. And if they don't, another tag team will. And they even gave Murdoch some mic time this week. It was kind of not a huge step, but it was still a step in the right direction toward giving the tag team, a much-needed little push.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's what everybody says. How do you get somebody over? Give them time to either talk. And give them time to talk and work. So they gave them both of that. So we'll see what happens next week.
Right. Yeah, they're a fun team. I thought they were a fun team.
Yeah, and speaking of the Intercontinental title, not to go back to this, but two guys that should be in the hunt for that belt and were just a couple of months ago had a decent match, and that was Shelton against Carlito. And we talked about Joey Styles just a little bit ago. Joey Styles did a phenomenal job selling Carlito. He was talking about his hair the entire time. I mean, it's phenomenal to see Joey bring a little character to these guys that really otherwise get ignored. Like, I remember seeing a match, and I'm going to go back again to Jim Ross. I believe it was the Hurricane against the Big Show. And JR actually said this, and it made me fall out of my chair, literally. Well, I think the Big Show might have a slight power advantage here. Well, you think so? He's twice the size. I mean, they need to make sure that people understand the discrepancy in size, the discrepancy in looks, and Joey does that in a really big way, and I think that added a lot to this match.
But let me ask you something. What happened to Chavo or Kerwin White? What happened to that?
We saw him on the ring apron on Monday.
What happened to my racist angle that I called that never happened?
Francine, they listened in. They heard that you thought it was a good idea, and they said we can't do it.
I had a premonition about it.
You were getting such good thoughts and such good vibes. They said
they just dropped it, and I was just floored. I said, "What just happened here? Did I miss something?" Because I don't think I did.
No, you didn't. It just was dropped, and it was on Heat. I don't know what they did. I think they just jobbed out Shelton to Conway, as a matter of fact, on Heat last week. I mean, they're doing these strange things, and I don't understand what they're doing with their undercard. It's a good thing their main event spots are good.
They're not continuing the angles.
Yeah.
Well, can I interject a thought here?
Yeah.
I'm going to shift gears just a smidge, but follow me with this.
All right.
I got to take this someplace. I got to walk down this road right here.
Are we
right
going for a ride, Chuck?
We're going for a ride on the Chuck D bus, if you will.
I got shotgun, baby.
All right, let's do this.
Is it a short bus?
So we're talking about this whole. That was actually a good joke, man. The short bus, I love it. we're talking about here, these mid-card feuds not developing, not following through, and I finally saw something on Raw that actually gave me a glimmer of hope that maybe some changes are in the works. Right. Obviously, we're talking about Kerwin White not getting his push developed. Shelton Benjamin is kind of getting dropped. But I'm talking Gregory Helms and Rosie. This is something I've been waiting to see. Now, I'm going to say I initially do not like the fact the Hurricane gimmick went away, but I still like the fact that this feud kind of has a little bit of payoff. I mean, these guys are getting some shots in. You know, there's some definite animosity. There's some passion. It gives these guys something to do, finally, versus stand on a ring apron and look silly. And I'll tell you what, I'm a little passionate about it because I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's the first mid-card feud I've seen in like any amount of time that I've actually enjoyed.
I agree with you. Let's see what they do with it. If they just drop it after one match, then that's not good. If they keep it going for a little while, then it'd be really interesting.
Well, we've had a couple weeks of it, so that leads me to believe, 2 weeks of a mid-card feud, and where we've actually seen a couple matches take place and some backstage segments. This is like big time we're talking now all of a sudden. This is a huge deal.
They're actually taking the time to build it, which is a good sign.
I'd almost think Paul Heyman was writing TV right now, the way they got some mid-card feuds happening.
Yeah, right.
How about that thing with Paul Heyman? Now we're covering news of the week. There's rumors that Stephanie McMahon has it in for him, and the writers are backstage making fun of what Paul Heyman's doing in OVW right now.
Yeah, I read that.
Well, you know what? I hope they do it. And I'm not the biggest supporter of Paul Heyman. I don't drink the quote-unquote Kool-Aid and think he's the greatest guy ever. But I will say this. You sometimes make a big mistake when you underestimate your enemy. And if they're going to sit there and think, okay, we're going to let this guy go, he's of no value to us. He's not worth our $250,000 a year, whatever it is. All right, send him over to TNA. You might have just created a monster.
You know what? I've said this time and time again, and I said this in a discussion we had last week. That's great. Let Christian go. Let Chris Benoit go. Let Paul Heyman go. I'd love to see them all leave the WWE. Just let the WWE throw them out like trash. That's perfect. TNA can come in and say, hey, we got some main event players here. We got a guy that can write good TV. We got a couple of the best technical wrestlers in the business today. Wow. All of a sudden, WWE just gave us, all this just free promotion. All of a sudden, WWE gave us these people and made us big time. Thank you.
Never underestimate your enemy. That's all I have to say.
I don't know if I like saying that Paul Heyman's an enemy. I mean,
no, not to them. I'm saying that if they let him go to the enemy, which is TNA, they're definitely making a big mistake.
I happen to like Kool-Aid. I like cherry the best. On a nice hot day, I like to sit down with a nice glass. Maybe put a little rock in it just for taste. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Kool-Aid myself.
It's pretty good stuff.
I drank some before we went on the air, as you can tell.
I think, seriously, I think wherever Paul goes, success will follow. Give him, a pen and paper, or actually give him a pen and a napkin, and he'll write genius on it, because all of our stuff was booked on napkins, and look how great it was.
All right, well, here's what we're going to do. I want to talk about one more thing, then we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to finish up Raw. Francine, we'd love for you to stay with us if possible. But I want to ask you this. We've heard a little bit about this, like, underground fight club thing going on with, like, Sabu's a part of it, Paul Heyman's a part of it. It's, like, extreme MMA, mixed martial arts.
No, it's not Paul Heyman that's a part of it. It is Todd Gordon. It's Todd Gordon, Sandman, and I think it's Gary Wolf, who you just worked with this weekend, are doing
I worked with Todd as well. Todd was there. Yeah, he I talked to Todd a little bit about it, and it's supposedly starting next year, so...
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I hope to be a part of that, so...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, I love this. I like this mixed martial arts. I want to see some people get hurt.
Me too.
I'm not a fan of mixed martial arts. I guess I'm kind of a mark for the story, and I'm not sure that you can put story in that kind of environment. I mean, will it be shoot fighting, or will it be, worked mixed martial arts fighting?
I'm not really sure what it is. Todd just asked me for my number, and I gave it to him, and that was that.
Well, I mean, MMA would insinuate that it's pretty much real. I mean, there's a lot of these wrestlers that have the ability to go, dude, just because they're going to work in an MMA environment. Doesn't take, obviously, away any of the credibility for it. And talking about storylines, what better storyline can you have than natural, raw, like animalistic emotion on these guys' parts that they just want something so bad they beat the snot out of each other? That's great. That's great TV.
Maybe they want to use me as a ring card girl then, because I don't know what I'd do with mixed martial arts. You
don't want to get in there and throw some, real punches and, get hit in the face or anything like that?
Oh, it depends who my opponent is. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I did on a serious note, I did talk to Todd. So if they want me to be, a part of it and do something, I'll gladly do that.
And one more thing before we go to break, and this was at a request of somebody from the forums. We actually did put you over big time to Mr. Scott D'Amore, and we were like, listen, if you guys are going to be doing shows at the ECW Arena, you got to bring her in. So hopefully...
Oh, God, you didn't have to go that far.
Well, actually, if you read the forums, somebody put it in there. Please request it. So I was like, okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
We listened to our forums.
The weekend, he was at the Hardcore Homecoming show.
Was he?
So I spoke to him over the weekend, but, if they were to call, I would go.
Well, I mean,
awesome.
Like I said, we always put over our forums. Anybody who posts a question there, we ask it regardless if we think it's the best question or not.
Well, whoever posted that, thank you very much, and, we'll see what happens.
All right,
we're going to take a quick break right here. We'll be back to finish up Raw. Francine, can you stick with us?
Sure will.
Okay. We'll be back right after this on the Blaze 1260 AM.
The Blaze 1260 AM.
Worker of the Week.
Petey Williams.
Hi, this is Gail Kim, and you're listening to Wrestling Epicenter on the Blaze 1260 AM.
Team Canada manager and booker for TNA, also the owner and manager of Border City Wrestling, Mr. Scott D'Amore. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening, my man.
Hey, no problem. My pleasure, guys.
It's good to have you on the show. There's been a little bit of news coming out on the internet today, which of course is always accurate. And of course the news is asking or saying flat out that you're going to be fired soon as a booker for TNA. You care to tackle this rumor?
Oh, I didn't know that was the rumor.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is. They say that you're going to be replaced by Jeff Jarrett, but like I said, you can believe everything you read on the internet because it's always accurate, right?
Well, if you read it on the internet, it must be true.
That's absolutely.
Let's start out on a more positive note. You guys have your upcoming pay-per-view over there at TNA called Genesis. It's happening, I believe, the 13th of November, if I'm not mistaken. What role is Team Canada going to have in that pay-per-view?
Well, Team Canada's got a pretty big role. Of course, there's Petey Williams who'll be challenging AJ Styles for the X Division Championship. These guys have had a couple of really great matches. They always seem to somehow connect when they're out there in a big match, and seems to bring the best out of both of them. They'll both put on great performances, I'm sure. They'll do what our X Division, what TNA in general is best at doing, which is putting on great athletic contests, weaving in a little bit of story and everything else, and just having a real entertaining display out there. So they'll be doing that. Petey will be as our captain out there looking for X Division gold, and the other members of Team Canada, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and of course Big A1. They'll be in there with 3 Live Crew in a 6-man stick fight where you'll have 6 hockey sticks on the top of 6 poles in each of the corners, which of course in TNA there's 6 of.
Right.
And if you get to the hockey sticks, you can use them. Kip James will be the special guest referee, and not sure how trustworthy Kip James will be out there, but 3 Live Crew and Team Canada again, they always seem to be able to mesh together, go out there and bring out the best in each other. And I'm sure we'll see that, and just everybody on Team Canada, 3 Live Crew, AJ Styles on down, everybody in TNA just always goes out there, works hard, gives it their all, and puts on a great show. So we'll be very proud to be part of a great product in TNA and do our best to entertain everybody.
How excited were you to watch Petey Williams go in, like, a week span, do 2 X Division matches, one obviously for the TNA special.
Ultimate X.
Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Yeah, Ultimate X.
I'm sorry, how...
I said, how awesome was it to actually witness that, to see Petey Williams? I mean, because those were some sick matches we saw. Both Ultimate X matches were just off the chain.
Yeah, and those Ultimate X matches, I don't think in some ways that the fans truly understand how draining they are on the competitors. Like, Chris Sabin, Matt Bentley, and Petey went out there on Sunday night, and they let it all hang out. Of course, there was the now infamous equipment malfunction, and, really, it's wrestling, and anything can happen. It did. Those guys still had a great match. It was decided that they would rematch it out there on the first ever primetime Spike special, and, those guys brought it even to another level. But I think what people don't realize is for the time in between those 2 matches, those guys were humbled. I mean, those matches they completely beat you down. They completely wear you out. Not that I would know from experience, certainly, but from watching these guys, I mean, it's unbelievable to watch. But it's unbelievable to watch, any of the TNA guys these days. I mean, the way these guys have, despite the fact that for the past 3+ years have always given their all in the ring, it just seems that everything with the momentum going in our direction here over the last many weeks, just seems that everybody stepped up yet again, and I just really think that we're hitting on all cylinders. The product's good, the talent's great, we're action-packed, and if you're looking for a wrestling alternative, then we're it.
Well, one of a lot of questions we get about TNA on a radio show we discuss is often the use of managers, obviously something close to your heart. This is something that the WWE in the last few years has really shied away from. Do you think it's a big benefit for TNA to utilize talent as managers and valets?
WWE just doesn't seem to understand or agree with the role of managers. I mean, here and there they'll have a female out there in a managerial role, but they really have, they like to say the lost art of the male manager, and TNA has certainly capitalized on that. I'm honored to get an opportunity. I thought my in-ring career and my on-air career was really over as a talent. I moved behind the scenes, and this opportunity with Team Canada emerging was a real opportunity for me to go out there, and I just borrow a little bit of Bobby Heenan here, a bit of Jim Cornette there, throw in just a spice of Jimmy Hart, and go out there and just, do what so many greats before me had done, which was just try to add that aspect to it. There is something to it being ringside. I mean, it's, you can add to the tension of the match. You can be there for important parts. I mean, as far as for distractions and everything else. And it's just, it's a role that had disappeared and seems to be coming back. And as TNA, emerges to be a real player on the national scene, which it has over the last couple of years, and certainly that's intensified over the last many weeks. It's something that I think is going to come back to the forefront. And it's not like I'm the only one. You got a great like James Mitchell, and he's out there. He's a little bit different in the way he does it. He's his ringside antics are a little more laid back, but there's certainly he is arguably the best or one of the best on a microphone in this sport.
Well, everybody said that. We actually had him on the program just about 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about how he had to step up his game once you came in and were a manager as well, as he was the only manager for a long time. And he says that when you came in, he realized he had to step up his game to save his position. Do you feel that you have to, quote unquote, compete with him?
No, I mean, it's kind of funny because Jim Mitchell and myself had talked about it when I was coming back to to television. You know, we made the joke that it would be great because we could play off of each other and push each other, but it's, you know, he's a longtime friend. He's a super talent. We're very lucky to have him as part of our product. And I think that, you know, both of us add something to the show, and I think it's great in the sense that both of us very different characters, and I don't see ourselves in competition directly in any way, shape, or form. I truly value and respect what he brings to the product, and hope that, you know, what little bit I can do to help out, certainly. I just hope that helps out the product overall, which, you know, right now, like I said, and, you know, maybe I'm biased, but just so strong overall right now, and just the way things are going, and really just, I mean, sounds like a cliche, but I really am honored to be a part of all of it. It's a real exciting time to be part of TNA and part of the wrestling business.
Let me ask you this. You'd mentioned a little while ago that you thought perhaps your in-ring career was over, but then we saw you back in 2004, I believe it was June, where you actually took on Jerry Lynn in a match. What was that like?
It was gratifying personally. I hadn't wrestled at all. I hadn't stepped foot in the ring to compete in over a year and a half, and it's been over 2 years since I'd had, you know, a singles match of any kind, and certainly the match with Jerry would be considered one of the biggest in my career, and to be able to go back out there after really thinking my career was over, in a sense, from you know, injuries suffered. I've had both neck and head injuries that left it pretty much what looked like a certainty that I wouldn't be competing at all, and it certainly is a reason why that, you know, you'll never see me step in there full-time. Well, that, and of course the fact that there's no way that I could keep up with how talented our roster is.
Right.
But it was real satisfying for me to go out there and compete with Jerry, be part of that match. There were some issues at that show, and our match ended up going quite longer than it was intended to go. And I thought me and Jerry, you know, meshed well together as we always had, and I thought we did a real good job in that situation. I thank Jerry for carrying my fat, lazy butt out there for that long. And, you know, it got panned, that match, by a lot of the internet critics and such, and I certainly respect their right to be able to have an opinion and to state it. But when I got to the back, I mean, Jerry Jarrett pulled me aside to tell me how impressed he was. You know, Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race and some of the greats actually told me, you know, to have Harley Race tell me that he thought it was great, and have Dusty Rhodes tell me that he hadn't enjoyed watching a wrestling match, he didn't know how long, and to have Irish Mickey Doyle, one of my trainers, and Terry Taylor, whose opinion I value so much, to pull me aside and tell me how proud they were of me and how great they thought it went. You know, once all those guys and people that have done that much in the wrestling business basically endorse you and tell you that they really enjoyed it, then every critic in the world can pan it, and
right.
Doesn't mean they're not valid, but to me, I'll treasure that night and that memory for a long time, and I'm very proud of what we did out there.
Absolutely. I actually was one of the people who put it over as a great match. I don't usually kiss ass, and I'm not somebody who likes to do that. I'm the guy that argued with Ric Flair on the air. But I will say this. I enjoyed that match. I thought it was a great performance, and, I mean, I really would be proud of that match because it was, you know, maybe a little old school for people. Maybe that's why the internet didn't get it.
Well, I mean, it was, and the fact is that Jerry's such a great performer and such a great competitor, and, you know, people were basically looking at it, and what they saw was a situation where a guy whose role had been really to cower and to run away, and I was in a position where for a good chunk of time I had to really go out there and, you know, kind of carry the action. That's the only way it works if you're going to do this, you know, do it right in this business, is the heel has to go out there and generate hate, and being in there with Jerry with the way he was, you know, he sells and everything else, I mean, it's very easy to do. He was great. He deserves a ton of credit for that night. And like I said, I was just happy. It was a great opportunity to go out there and prove to myself and some other people that I could still perform a little bit. Like I said, on a personal note, it was very special to me in a sense because at one point I didn't think I'd ever be able to do it again.
Well, we got you on here through TNA, but I'd also be remiss if I went through this whole interview and didn't ask you a little bit about Border City Wrestling. Excuse me. Tell us a little bit what's going on with that promotion. That's the one that you run, obviously, out of Canada.
Border City Wrestling's been around for over 12 years now. It's, I think, one of the older and I think arguably one of the more successful independent promotions in North America. Was started by Chuck Fader, who was a great promoter. The late, great Doug Chevalier was the Canadian Destroyer, and myself. I was very young at the time. My job was basically to do whatever grunt work they wanted done. And over the course of years, it's helped launch the careers of tons of guys from Rhino to Petey Williams to Chris Sabin to Alex Shelley. All these guys got their start in Border City Wrestling, and all the other people that went through Border City Wrestling on their way to making bigger names of the Edges, the Christians, the Al Snows, the list goes on and on. I mean, The Rock made an appearance in Border City Wrestling. Mick Foley was just here this year. We're actually, kind of hanging back right now. We got a training center right now with a lot of super young talent. We'll have our next big super event in January, which will be the Doug Shadaya Memorial event. And these days, a lot of the day-to-day operations are handled by Jeffrey Scott, who's been around with us for 9 years and really assumed a lot of the duties that myself or Doug or Chuck handled in the past. And really, Border City Wrestling succeeds certainly because of a great group effort and not so much because of myself or any one individual, but it just shows that when a bunch of people who are passionate about this sport, this business, come together and work hard, then good things are going to happen, the product's going to be good, and fans will support it.
Well, you just mentioned...
Time down the future, we may see maybe Border City Wrestling is like a developmental territory for TNA as they continue to grow and expand. Has that ever been kind of bounced off anyone?
I mean,
like a lot of the guys, it's kind of a natural progression. It seems a lot of the guys from TNA, as you said, come from Border City Wrestling,
There's the talk of it here and there, and Border City Wrestling here has a byproduct the Can-Am Wrestling School, which, like I said, Rhino, Petey Williams, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, A1, all went through there. And there's been talks of doing it when TNA needed to train the winners of the National Talent Search, the Gut Check Challenge from last October's GNC Strength and the GNC Strength show in Atlanta. They sent him here to Can-Am. We're very proud to be chosen. Obviously, a little bit of a tie-in there with my involvement with TNA. But we would love to, at this level, be in some way, shape, or form, whether it was just the training center or whether it was with live events. We would love to be part of any type of developmental system that TNA had if they ever chose to do one. So, not really in the cards now. TNA is concentrating on building the national product, and one day, if they're looking to have a system to send and nurture talent, then I certainly am biased, but I think Border City Wrestling could certainly help with that.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned the name Christian just a few minutes ago, and I have to jump on this. Of course, TNA has a big superstar debuting this Sunday at the Genesis pay-per-view. Everybody's assuming it's Christian. Any comment?
Well, tune in Sunday night and see. It's wrestling, and anything can happen. As we discussed earlier in the broadcast here, the internet, it says it. Maybe not the thing you want to always believe, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Something big's happening at TNA, and it's all part of the excitement as we move forward.
Now, let me ask you this. There's a lot of people over, as we're talking about the internet, that have expressed concern that maybe TNA has kind of gone and used a lot of the talent from the WWE that as part of the ways for some reason or another. Do you think TNA is kind of walking a fine line with the amount of people they bring in that previously worked for WWE, or don't you view that as a problem?
I don't view it as a problem in the sense that anybody who deserves to be part of the roster and that their performance can warrant them being part of it should be. It shouldn't be judged on whether or not they've been with WWE in the past. Just like in the old days, it shouldn't have been held against somebody that they were in WCW or ECW or anything else like that. There's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of disgruntled talent, and TNA is really becoming an exciting, entertaining place to work and be part of. It's it's an exciting time for the wrestling business for TNA. And just because somebody worked with WWE doesn't mean they should be excluded from that. If they can come in, if they can perform, if they can contribute to the roster, then they should be there.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. Of course, you're one of the bookers for TNA, and as we saw, things really hit the fan. Bound for Glory. I think that pay-per-view is cursed because 2 years ago, of course, Hogan injury kept that from happening, and then he had Kevin Nash heart problems. What is it like as a booker to find out the day of the pay-per-view you got to scrap everything and start over?
Well, first of all, to tie into what you had said in the open when you introduced me, I'm not the booker for TNA. We have a tremendous creative staff that consists of myself, Mike Tenay, who's as knowledgeable as anybody about the professional wrestling industry, both historically and currently. Dutch Mantell, who's certainly a well-respected veteran, great mind and just knows how to do those little things that really make the difference between something that's just entertaining and something that can draw money. Bill Banks, a name you don't hear often, who is as hardworking and loyal as anybody, worked with WCW and WWF in the past. We now happy to have him here heading both our website and being part of our creative team. And Jeremy Borash, who always has an alternate spin on things, likes to poke holes, likes to look and see there's a way to do things a little bit differently. Myself, of course, Jeff Jarrett involved in the process, and of course the ideas and contributions that come from everybody on the roster, that's what comes together to make the show. So just wanted to clear that up, that it's really is a team effort in TNA, and that's, I think, what sets us apart from our competition or from the other companies out there. Now, as far as for how it is to show up and have one half of your main event not be able to perform, the fact of life, it's a fact of the wrestling business, and we're just happy that Kevin's okay, that, looks like he'll be, having a long, healthy life with us. And as far as for business, you do what you do, You take the chicken and try to make chicken salad out of it. So, there you go. And,
we appreciate the censoring, by the way.
Yeah, and self-censoring. But nobody else allowed to censor me, just me. But no, basically that's it. I mean, so we all get together, we huddled, we decided what we thought was best, we went out there and, we threw it together. It's the same as there's always damage control that has to be done when looking at running things from a creative point of view. Obviously something like that is bigger than most situations you have to deal with, but you know what? I thought we handled it well. Everybody contributed right up from top to bottom, and God, I never thought about the fact Bound for Glory might be cursed until you brought it up. So, but, I'm very proud of what happened. When you take a look at everything we dealt with at that show, the performances that were still put on and what came out of it, I'm very proud to have my name attached to that product in some way.
Hey, well, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with us. We're definitely going to be looking out to see a Genesis this Sunday, November 13th. We're going to look for your guys. Obviously, Team Canada's Petey Williams taking on the phenomenal AJ Styles, and also Team Canada versus 3 Live Crew in a tag team battle royal. And I guess, as you said, some hockey sticks may be in use. So make sure we'll check out for that. And once again, we thank you for joining us.
Hey, it was my pleasure. Like I said, I hope everybody tunes in. Also, they tune in to Spike TV every Saturday night at 11 and Monday nights at midnight.
Excellent.
Okay, man, definitely. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Take it easy, man. Thanks. Bye. Have a good night. Hello?
Hey, I just want to make sure we're off the air.
Yeah, we are.
Good. Oh, okay. Well, I hope that was okay for you guys. I'm a little disjointed here because I was actually sleeping when you called. So.
Oh, we didn't mean to wake you up, man. We apologize for that.
No, it's okay. So I set my ringer real high and set it next to the bed because I knew the call was coming because Caroline had asked me about it yesterday.
As a matter of fact, can I ask you for just one more favor while we still got you on the phone?
Sure.
Can we get a station ID from you?
Sure.
Basically just saying, this is Scott D'Amore, and you're listening to the Blaze 1260 AM.
This is Scott D'Amore, and you're listening to the Blaze 1250?
1260 AM.
1260 AM?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Want me to count you down, or what?
Sure.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, this is Coach Scott D'Amore of TNA Team Canada, and you're listening to 1260 the Blaze. It's the Blaze 1260. Sorry. All right. It's the Blaze.
Yeah.
1260 AM.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, you're listening to Coach Scott D'Amore of TNA Team Canada, and you're listening to the Blaze 1260 AM.
Excellent, man. Appreciated it very much. And once again, good luck on Sunday, and we'll be tuning in.
Yeah, and I hope I don't get fired.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to bring you that bad news or bad rumor or whatever it is.
Oh, that's okay. Where's that posted?
It was on a bunch of websites. We have a news board on our site, too, and I just posted. I was like, oh, boy, we're interviewing him, and here it says, big shakeup at TNA. Scott D'Amore to be replaced. And I'm like, oh, boy.
Well, I'm assuming it comes out of Meltzer, I guess, last week reported that I was doing less and Jeff was doing more.
Probably stems from that.
I'm always trying to find a way to create news, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. At least they're talking.
Yeah, we had Hogan on the show, and he went on like a 5-minute rant about how Meltzer's killing the business. So.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Guys can only report from the facts they know, and, sometimes they know better than us. Let's hope not in this case.
Yeah, hopefully so.
This is Petey Williams, the Canadian Destroyer, and you're in the Wrestling Epicenter.
Welcome back to the Blaze 1260 AM. Had to play a quick little bit of Scott D'Amore there for us. What a phenomenal guy that is, man. He was so down to earth, so chill, and he had a lot of good things to say. And he kind of gave us that exclusive. I loved it. Where there's smoke, there's fire. What a good answer to a good, tough question.
That's what you call dodging the issue, dude.
That was not dodging the issue. That's basically saying, yeah, I'm going to confirm that, but
that's
Bill
Clinton debating the meaning of the word is.
Nah.
That's dodging the issue.
Francine, can he be more upfront and honest with us by saying, listen, where there's smoke, there's fire?
I think he answered it correctly.
I think he did as well.
I think he took him off guard.
I think it did too. I didn't think he necessarily thought we had the cojones to ask that. I got to give Walsh over here some credit.
I think he took him off guard, and I was waiting for the part where you talked about me, but it wasn't on there.
Actually, we did that when we were off the air. I just yeah, I didn't want to record that in case he's like,
no, I don't want you to record it either. Come on now.
I don't want him to say something like, oh, we don't want to hire her. And be like,
oh,
great.
God, how embarrassing that would be.
Yeah.
Well, Francine, we appreciate you as always sticking on the line with us. Sorry we had to take the quick little break there. But we got to finish up with Raw here. And the main event that we saw in this Raw's edition was Angle and Masters defeating John Cena and Shawn Michaels. But there was quite a big twist that came out here. And I'll tell you what, I kind of had my a little miniature mark-out moment, which for me are few and far between. I thought
it's
Hassan.
an Angle match.
No, it had nothing to do with him. I thought Hassan was coming out when I heard this music, and it ended up being Davari, and I was like, oh my God, they brought Hassan back. You know, they're on USA, and for just a split second, I was like, hell yeah. But
yeah,
no.
that would have been really interesting if they would have. And Jerry Lawler's reaction was perfect when he heard the music. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. I thought that was phenomenal.
And it was Davari.
It was Davari, but this was a little bit of a downer for me overall.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense.
The match was kind of a downer, to be honest with you. I expected more. I didn't understand why Davari was even there. You know,
I mean, what is his affiliation with Angle? What do they have?
Because they're secret friends. You have to read into it.
Well, I mean, come on now. I can let a lot of stuff slide. You know what I mean?
Let's be honest here. Kurt Angle pretty much plays the Olympic U.S. hero, and he's siding with the guy who hates America.
Well, what kind of hero is... What? This is the same guy that came out and insulted every fan in that building by saying, if you chant,
that was
suck.
great.
I love that part and I loved when they edited the "you suck." It was a good move.
That was awesome.
That. Yeah, that was funny. That was just funny.
He's a hypocrite. He's a heel and he's a hypocrite. All heels are hypocrites.
It's perfect.
Exactly.
It works well.
It's great.
But I just don't understand. There's some things, but Davari all of a sudden comes out and him and Kurt Angle like best friends.
This next week we're going to look at the Titantron. And we're going to see Kurt Angle and Davari at the mall, and they're going to be shopping, and they're going to be riding in a car together. They're going to be buying suits together. They're going to be best friends. That's it. And it all stems from their childhood when they went to private prep school together.
Wow.
Wow,
yeah.
You really thought this out?
No, I just made it up just right now, as I'm sitting here.
No,
but
dude,
it's
I'm
great.
sure she
they
thought
knew
of
each
this
other
since
since
Monday.
they were kids.
Yeah,
and,
she's been
and
thinking about it.
That's what I'm saying. The WWE can just bust out with the craziest stuff, and maybe it'll go back to where they knew each other since childhood, and
stranger
whatever.
things have happened.
Don't look into it. It's wrestling.
This is just a little bit too blatant overlook, but whatever. We can try and let it slide, right?
Yeah, sure.
You're gonna have to because.
Dude, at the end of the day, we don't have a say.
I know, but I can't. I can't, in good conscience, get on the air here and be like, "That was a phenomenal idea to have Davari come out." Because I mean, it really wasn't. I think it really. Davari. I mean, this guy's got real no crowd reaction. No one really expected what was happening. No one really got it. It just felt like it fell flat to me. You want to finish out the end with a bang, and this just kind of felt like it went a little downhill. There was a lot of bangs throughout the show. I mean, overall, it was a pretty positive show, I thought.
Overall,
you didn't like the part with the chair? You didn't like the way the finish was with the chair?
The disqualification? I don't know. It seemed a little weak, but I guess it was kind of supposed to. I kind of would have preferred somebody actually get pinned, but they didn't say it was a fast count. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because they can say somebody got pinned. I mean, 2 weeks ago they had Kurt Angle beat John Cena by making him tap out, and Bischoff made his hand tap.
But
listen, why not?
What if Shawn Michaels pinned Masters? Then this young guy would be getting beat by an old guy.
Oh, yeah. Well,
oh, wow.
Well, why not? They had him get beat by a midget on Tuesday, so why not?
Who was the midget on Tuesday?
Rey Mysterio Jr.
Oh, first of all, the term is little people, and Ray is not a little person.
And I am a little people myself, dude.
Well, dude, do you think I'm not? I'm maybe a half an inch taller than you, so come on now.
Well,
Am I taller than both of you?
No.
Actually, you might be.
No.
With my heels on, I am.
Yes.
How tall are you?
With my heels?
Without
your heels.
5'7".
Yeah.
We're about the same.
No, I got this. I got this under lock. Francine,
I don't think so, dude.
You're a little shorty, all right?
Okay, with my heels on, I'm 6'1".
Oh, then you tower over both of us.
Yeah, with my stilts on, I'm like 7 foot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all right, whatever. Get some
Stemming
good.
from that job you had when you were a
Anyway.
clown?
Yes.
I hate clowns.
We know.
Oh, were you really a clown?
No, I just
No.
made fun of him.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. Not at all.
He was never a clown.
But now, this is like my most exciting part of the show, guys. We get to talk TNA. It's like my new kind of addiction here. I like
Wait,
it more
can
than
I
Raw.
just say one thing before we do that?
What's that?
Or before you let me off the line? During the commercial, was that Jake the Snake Roberts?
Yes. They're
He-
promoting...
Why was his voice so sexy sounding?
You think that's sexy?
The yeah, it was so low and raspy, and I said, was that Jake Roberts?
I have an honest answer for you, but it's a little offensive.
Crack.
I don't know. I just said to myself, wow, he sounded, I mean, I know who he is, I know what he looks like and everything, but his voice just, I was like, wow.
Well, let me tell you, that voice is also very intimidating. I interviewed him about 2 years ago when I was still with my little partner overseas, and we called him. We were literally 4 minutes late from when we said we were going to call him, and he came through with that voice, and he said, "When somebody says they're going to call me at 6 o'clock, they better call me at 6 o'clock.
I don't
Otherwise,
know.
I'll
He
say
just,
screw you guys."
it was like real low and seductive, and I said, wow, listen to him. He could do a 900 number.
Well, Francine, what do you mean?
Yeah, but
You have a really strong radio voice too, Chuck.
Oh, well, thank you. I
You
wasn't
really
looking
do.
for cheap pops, but I'll take them nonetheless.
No, you do. You have a really dominating, like, really deep voice. But
He's got a
he just sounded so seductive.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Chuck's got the radio thing down pat. I bow down to his greater skills.
No, I mean, James, you sound good too, but Chuck just has that. He reminds me of Shadow Stevens. You guys know who he is?
Yes, I do.
I have no idea who that is.
Isn't he a newscaster in New York?
No, Shadow Stevens was a radio. He was a radio guy, and he also was the voice on Hollywood Squares.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's who you sound like. to me.
Circle
That's-
takes the square. Whoopi Goldberg, you're up next.
He sounds like you, and you sound like him, and that's a compliment because Shadow Stevens is known for his voice.
Oh, Shadow Stevens, right.
Yeah, it took me a little while. I remember this. There was like some guy had a real fake name in New York. Storm Fields was a weatherman, and I thought Shadow Stevens was the newscaster, but I'm wrong.
No, because I don't know New York people.
Francine, you just kind of rocked my mind with that Shadow Stevens. When I actually
I
thought about it for a
know.
minute, I was like, whoa.
Shadow Stevens was a cool guy, and he had such a great voice, and that's who you sound like, is Shadow Stevens.
Do you hear me on the radio? I'm like a walking billboard for like not partying. I'm like, what? Oh, Shadow Stevens, like 5 minutes later.
That's okay.
I'm shot, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, you've been saying that a lot lately. You're making me nervous over here. He's been telling me how shot he is like all week. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, it's been a long couple weeks. But Francine, we definitely appreciate you calling in as always. Plug the website.
Thanks,
What do we got
guys.
going on? We got more of Daphne up there?
On the website?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm actually I'm leaving on the day after Thanksgiving, and we're doing some photo shoots, and we have another guest model who I'm not going to say.
Is it big?
I don't want to say anything yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Because if it doesn't pan out, then I'll have egg on my face. But
It's always a risk. We take that risk often over here.
yeah, you know, I
Sometimes
like
it
to
pans
just
out.
wait until it happens. Missy's more like she'll tell you like this minute.
Yeah.
When I
we
would
noticed
rather
that.
just be quiet. Yeah, Missy, and I holler at her all the time, like, shut up.
Yeah,
So, we have a lot of stuff planned. I'll be down there for like 10 days, and but this weekend I'm off, so I'm actually just going to go out with friends and hang out and do some dinner and drinks, and it should be fun.
And then some more drinks?
Well, we'll see how I feel.
Yeah, it's when it happens when you go out with friends, though. It's like
I got to buy chasers. I have to go get the chasers.
Francine,
I know you
I
said
told
it
you-
doesn't work.
yeah.
But they have something new, and it's called like platinum chasers or something. So maybe it's better.
Platinum Chasers, they cost $5 more, but do absolutely nothing.
I know. Well, I'm going to try because you never know. Maybe they'll work on me. Maybe there's something wrong with you.
Maybe my liver's just shot, and it doesn't matter
See,
what I
my
take.
liver's clean because I really don't party that much. So,
I never do, so that makes me all right.
see, James is so perfect, you know.
Oh, I'm far from perfect. Ask
You're
Chuck. I piss Chuck off at least once a day. This guy's
Why?
ready to punch me about once a day. I'm an annoying pain in the ass. I don't mind telling you.
You don't annoy me.
All right, wait until after
All right,
the
Francine,
trip.
he's going to call you tomorrow. He's going to call you the next day, and the
All
next
right,
day.
call me, guys. I'll be here.
Wait until after your trip.
Enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you next week if I don't talk to you sooner.
Sounds great, Francine. Thanks a lot for calling in.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was the Queen of Extreme, Francine. She didn't get a chance to plug the website. The website is www.missyhyattandfrancine.tv.com. And for those of you who are wondering, you can hear more of that Scott D'Amore interview. We actually went about 40 minutes with the guy at www.wrestlingepicenter.com. And now that the line is free, one more plug. Give us a phone call.
You know what? Can I change our plans?
What's that?
I want to change our plans.
What's our plans?
I was going to say we're going to open up the phone lines, but here's what I want to do. I want to go and I want to play a Fred Ottman interview right now. It's about 8 minutes. Then I want to come back and I want to open up the phone lines for like the last 30 minutes of the show, or say 20 minutes.
How about
and I just want to talk TNA. So we're going to play a little bit of this Tugboat / Typhoon / Shockmaster / I fall on my face. And we're going to come back.
You know what I noticed when we were editing this interview up? He used to own adult nightclubs. How about that?
I like it.
Yeah, you would.
Well, I mean, you got to look at this guy. See, this is my theory, and I don't usually rant on these kind of things while I'm on the air, but I got to do it real quick. Here's my theory. You're a big guy, you can't get chicks, and you're aware of this. So what do? You magically own some nightclubs. That's how it works for these guys. They open up the nightclubs, they're big, they get the ladies. If I was a big guy, I'd do it too. But here it is. So enough talk. We got to play this interview, guys. We'll be back here on the Wrestling Epicenter only on the Blaze, 1260 AM.
Hey, this is the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, the world's greatest wrestling manager, if I do say so myself. And you're listening to the Interactive Interview. It's number one, baby.
Welcome back to the Blaze 1260 AM and the Wrestling Epicenters. We are now being joined by Fred Ottman, formerly known as Typhoon, also known as Tugboat, and the Shockmaster. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, all right. How's it going, man?
It's good to have you on the program. People have been requesting you for quite some time, and finally we got a hold of you.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's been quite a few years since we had a chance to see you on wrestling television, so why don't you give us a little update? What do you do now, and what do you think of the current wrestling business?
What I do now? I'm actually training safety I used to beat up people for a living. Now I try and keep them healthy and safe. Do OSHA 10 and 30 hour, and I do mine safety and phosphate training down here. And I work for a Hydroblast, an industrial vac company in the Riverview area by Brandon, Tampa. And as far as the industry goes, there's a lot of changes taking place. A lot for the good, some maybe not so good, but I enjoy the business. My children, are 9, 10, and 13, so they're into it heavy right now, and I still keep in touch. I have a lot of friends that wrestle, and as a matter of fact, I was just up in Newark, New Jersey, doing an autograph session up there.
Anybody, go ahead, Chuck.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything. Go ahead, man.
Oh, excellent. Step on each other every now and again. Just, what were you doing that for? What was that? What promotion was that, if I might ask?
To be honest with you, it was independent. They did a
fan slam kind of thing, like a fan convention?
They had a bunch of small promoters, probably about 8 or 10 shows surrounded the show itself, but it was held. It was like a wrestling expo, and they had big swap, sales deal going on and all that stuff as far as memorabilia and all that stuff, new and current, and a lot of guys were up there with me. J.J. Dillon, Doink was up there, Nikolai. It's just prior to Vince doing the big show changing over to USA.
Well,
Mike.
Well, you mentioned that there's been some change to the business, some good, some bad. What are a lot of the majority of the changes that you've seen?
Well, some of the changes I've seen, the show itself getting away almost totally from a younger audience, going more into a Main Street audience, older audience, like less stuff geared toward children, per se, sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think that's a good change, by the way.
The show goes in that, and the characters in the show, times change, so you have to change with them. A lot more TNA, a lot more situations in that are more adult-oriented than that. I've always said that they should do a separate kids show, like, for Saturdays or something like that, for a younger audience. as far as merchandising and all that stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of positives too. I mean, they got a lot of great athletes, a lot of good athletes in the ring now, and I mean, the business has always been a good business, and there's a lot of good people on it.
Excellent, excellent. So you stepped back into the ring, or just a few years ago, I guess it was WrestleMania 17 in the Gimmick Battle Royal. What was it like being backstage once again?
Oh, it was great, man. The fans, we did the big fan deal next door, and I mean, I was there with Quake, who was a good friend of mine. We still keep in touch. I just talked to him last week. He's going through his set of different things physically. I'm sure a lot of people know about.
Yeah, he's battling prostate cancer, is it?
He had stomach cancer, actually. They took his stomach and remade him a new one.
Wow.
And he had a couple of other things that were going on cancer-wise. It was dormant, then it came back a little bit. And he's been going back and forth, but I mean, he's in great spirits. He's doing real good. He's living in Houston. Just keeping his chin up, man. I mean, he's got a great attitude. I mean, he's a great person. He was a wonderful tag team partner and a great friend. So I mean, I was happy to have him in my life, and still I am happy to have him in my life.
You, as you mentioned, paired up with him. You eventually turned heel to form the Natural Disasters. Did you find it refreshing or different to play the heel role?
I love being a heel. I mean, I love children, and that was the best thing about being on the road with me, being around kids and working around kids. But I love being a bad guy, and everybody loves a bad guy. No matter how much you hate you, or you can do, they still like you. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, when you first came into the WWE, you were a Tugboat, and that was kind of more geared towards the children that we were talking about a little earlier. What did you think of the Tugboat character initially?
Love the character. I mean, Hulk Hogan is whatever he touched always turned to gold in those days.
Yeah.
And he brought me in, and then I got, like I said, I got to be a big goof. I mean, I still watch cartoons and do all that kind of stuff. I'm a goof. I'll always be a kid. And so I guess that's why I relate with kids.
Absolutely.
But I enjoyed the character. It was fun. It was like a cartoon, like a living, breathing cartoon.
Kind of reminded me like a bigger version of Popeye the Sailor Man, kind of.
Like Bluto, yeah. Bluto or Brutus from Popeye, yeah.
You've had a lot of gimmicks throughout the years. You were obviously U.S. Steel, Big Steel Man, Tugboat, as we talked about, Typhoon, the Shockmaster. Out of all these characters, what one did you enjoy playing the most, and why?
You know what? I like them all. I mean, the Shockmaster, is the biggest buffoon deal, ever. I mean, talk about gimmicks going bad. I mean, they would have probably, I was upset that night when the things happened. I mean, the wall didn't bust out at the bottom. It was in a match that I couldn't see out of. But, got back, jumped up, did the best thing, cut the promo, and did the best I could at the time. I was upset, and then I just laughed at it, you know what I mean? Later on in the evening. Because,
some people look at that.
Yourself and yourself.
Some people look at that as like the biggest folly in the history of wrestling. Do you look at?
Most assuredly, man.
Yeah, I mean, did you embarrassed at all to have that associated with your name?
No, I mean, what I'm saying, it was embarrassing at the time, but I don't, like I said, if you can't laugh at yourself, what anybody else thinks doesn't matter much at all anyway. I mean, no matter what I've done, good or bad in the business, I love the business.
Yeah.
I love the people associated with business. I mean, it's like anything else. There's good people, there's bad people. I mean, they're just people. I mean, some people believe their own billboard, stuff. I mean, and then other people are just regular guys. I mean, when we're on the road wrestling, it was 280, 300 days a year. I've been to 60 countries, and you're on the road more than with your family at home, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of time, I mean, things happen, people get attitudes, other people get in arguments, whatever. But, I had the opportunity to meet and be around some of the best and greatest guys in the business. Guys I grew up watching on TV as a kid, and got in the ring with and wrestled side by side with.
Right.
So, I mean, it was the greatest thrill the first time I ever stepped in the ring. You said you're going to have Shawn Michaels on. Shawn Michaels was, I remember him in my first territory in based out of San Antonio, Texas. We wrestled for the same company, Texas All-Star Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that used to be Tully Blanchard's. When it was I forgot where it was before that, but it was based out of San Antonio, Texas.
Do you think the lack of territories today is kind of detrimental to the business?
I mean, there's a lot of independent guys around promoting all over the country, you know, and you guys well know that.
Yeah.
But I think it really was a loss as far as the business. I mean, just like the, you know, when WCW was around, and people always need something to compare somebody to. But the thing is, with territories, you got to go all over the country, and you know what I'm saying? It's like you learn. Guys were working, and new guys were breaking into the business. There was lots of new talent, and they were learning as they go. So I was glad that at the beginning of my career it was the end of the territories, but I got to be in several territories before going to New York, you know. So, I mean, it was great. It was a great education. It was, you know, staying in the little hotels, you know, staying in, you know, 3 guys to a room or whatever, paying your dues, putting tons of miles in the car. When we were in Texas, it wasn't uncommon to put 5,000 miles a week on the road.
Wow. Yeah, you were in several territories. You were in Memphis against Jerry Lawler. I believe you were in Florida. You just mentioned you were in Texas. Is it a bit of a shock?
Oregon, we were in I was in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
You know, and then wrestled for several places, crisscross too. They used to pull us in and do, when I was in San Antonio. I got to work up in Dallas a few times. I mean, it was really neat. And, you know, plus over in Japan.
Right.
And then I worked for Otto Vance over in Austria, in Graz, where they wrestle rounds. And you're in the same town for 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, do you think that it all hurt the psychology of the in-ring work of a lot of the younger guys in the WWE right now?
What do you mean?
Not having the opportunity to go travel around to, say, Japan or work, you know, a lot of different territories and get a different
Well, you know, what's great about up there is Vince is very smart. He's got a lot of associations with people in his office up there. With, I mean, you know, he can send guys off to certain places because even when I was up there, that office up there, they know who everybody is in the business. No matter what people think or whatever, these guys are trying to break in or come up or whatever, they know there's people shipping tapes to them from all over the country, all over the world.
Right.
You know how many tapes that they get sent to them for talent? It's mind-boggling every week.
Yeah, absolutely. It must be. But when you step into the WWE, after all, being in all those territories, is it absolutely shocking to see all the production value that goes into their shows?
It was just unbelievable. Well, I mean, just a tremendous experience. I enjoyed it the first day I came there to the day I left. I was nervous as hell. My palms were sweating every night before I went on. Once I got in the ring, it was just incredible. And being around the people, meeting the fans, and being in there and taking bumps and wrestling, busting tables, doing everything, you know, it was, I can't even describe it in words.
Well, right off the bat, you were paired with Hulk Hogan. We're talking about, you know, some good guys to be around good company. Were you surprised at all at how high they put you when you first came into the WWE? And it was a pretty, you know, big form of flattery to be paired off with Hulk Hogan right off the bat.
Well, it was like I said, you know, the Hulkster, and he's a great guy. I mean, you know, a person. I was in shock, you know. I mean, I was just happy just being there. You understand? Yeah. And then put me into a situation like that. I was like, you know, and then they had Quake hurt him, and he was out, and I became the giant cheerleader. You know, and it was wild. It was a great experience. I mean, you know, it was kind of overwhelming at first, but I mean, I just listened to everybody around me and worked hard and tried to do the right things. You know, and you make mistakes.
Well, a lot of the people we're talking about were really larger than life, you know, back in the day, with, you know, more characters. Today it seems like a lot of the people we see out there are guys that you could almost relate to, you know, Joe Schmoes. You know, they have a little bit of character, but they're not really playing into any kind of gimmick. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's better to have a little bit more outlandish characters, or to have them kind of stay a little bit truer to who they are?
I don't know. I think, you know what I think? You know, I'm not a promoter, you know, but to me as a person, I think you need a little bit of everybody, you know, a little, all, you know, from all walks of life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Outlandish, normal, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, I mean, Vince is smart as far as that goes, as far as developing, you know, trying to, you know, characters and gimmicks and whatever. I mean, I think it is good to take to have a variety, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, you got to have, you know, that everybody can relate to.
Right.
Funny people, mean people, happy people, you know, you got to have fat guys, short guys, you know, not all the same thing, because then you're looking at the same match over and over and over. It's like, if 5 guys use the same finishing hold in a row, what does that mean? Or if you see a guy do you see 15 guys do a moonsault, you know what I'm saying, where do you go from there? You know, you have to keep raising the bar.
Right, absolutely. That's an argument we make on the show all the time, is that some companies like to, you know, Vince likes the big guys, and sometimes, you know, he kind of cuts off the little guys, whereas TNA likes the little guys, and they don't like the big guys. And, I mean, if they could just create a healthy medium.
I think it goes in spurts.
Yeah.
I think, they go, you know, sometimes there'll be a lot of junior heavyweights, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll push women's angles for a few months, and then he'll change the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, he goes different. You can't just say it's a big, like when I was working there, sometimes it was a big man territory, then they got away from that and did a certain other thing. I mean, you know, all different ways.
Yeah, excellent. Well, you mentioned how great of a guy Hulk Hogan was to be paired with, but as Typhoon, I think they released it on the Coliseum video or something, you actually had a chance to wrestle him one-on-one. What was that experience like?
Excellent. I mean, you know, I was in the ring with the Maestro. I mean, when you're in there, anything you do, I mean, anything he did was, you know what I'm saying, the crowd would pop on. I mean, he had that kind of charisma. He had, you know what I'm saying, that energy, that electricity. I mean, like, you almost couldn't do anything wrong other than getting over the shock of being across the ring from him. You know what I'm saying?
Do you ever think we'll see someone else in the WWE or in wrestling in general that had the same drawing power and the same longevity as Hulk Hogan?
I don't know. You know, the thing is, a lot of times the guys get it to a certain level, they forget about the wrestling business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying they get into a position where, you know, they get a little push, and they get over. The people like them and that stuff, and other doors open up, and then they forget about the wrestling business. But you know, a lot of people are like that. They get to forget what made you who you are. You know, where your roots are, and that is wrestling. But as far as somebody, I mean, there's always going to be somebody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just a matter of finding them. I don't, you know, Hulk was and is where he is for so many years because of, I don't know, he was part of that group, the metamorphosis that where Vince took wrestling to the next level.
Right.
And rode the wave for so many years. To say that somebody could come in and steal that, I find it hard to believe. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like if you're in a room full of tough guys, there's always somebody tougher.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, part of the reason I ask about Hulk Hogan is, as I said, with longevity, is that it seems like, you know, a lot of people today, they can't extend their careers past a certain point, whether it be injuries or untimely deaths, things of that nature. Hulk Hogan and maybe Ric Flair are probably the only two that we've seen be able to have that kind of longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hogan can walk out there and be 80 years old, you know, 30 years from now, and probably still get the biggest pop of the night. And I don't know why that is. It's just natural charisma, I guess.
Talking about Ric Flair, these are two guys that, you know, I mean, the tops in the business as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Psychology, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Ric Flair, I mean, go out there and make the crowd pop to this day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's tremendous. And like I said, the Hulkster, I mean, he orchestrates the people like a conductor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's incredible. He can bring the audience up and set them right back down in their seats.
We talked a little bit about big men wrestlers a little bit ago, and at SummerSlam 91, Andre the Giant was in the corner of your opponents, the Bushwhackers. What's your opinion of Andre, and do you have any road stories from Andre?
I tell you what, Andre was the most awesome guy in the business. I remember after my son was born, my first son, us being here in Tampa, being at home and being able to wrestle here. I brought my son there, and he held him in his arms like, I mean, he looked like a little baby doll. You know what I'm saying? But as far and on the road with Andre, he was just tremendous. He either liked you or he didn't like you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big men in the business. He was and is the big man in the business.
Yeah.
And aside from Big Show, who's a great guy too.
Oh, but when you saw Andre, if he didn't like you, he would do things like step on your hair and pull you up or something like that.
Whatever he wanted to, because he was Andre.
You couldn't stop him.
You could sit down on big men and make him cry.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would not want to make that man mad.
Some people think that they could come in and steal his luster, but he was the man. Andre was the boss. You know, Hulk Hogan, he'd come into the room, hey boss.
Yeah, that's
and he ruled the roost. He was the man in there. He'd come into the dressing room. I always got there early to be with Arnold Skoll and playing cribbage downstairs. In the chair and playing cribbage. You know, and he's always nice. Like I said, either he liked you or he didn't like you. I had very much respect for him. I watched him growing up as a youngster, and I took him, and I enjoyed being in the same ring. It was an honor being in the same room with him.
Absolutely, man.
Good person.
Well, in recent months, Vince has kind of been either rectifying problems that he's had with old enemies or taking them to a new level, like Bret Hart. He's bringing Bret Hart back because, I mean, obviously they had their issues, and they kind of mended fences. And Ultimate Warrior seemed to be somebody that he could not mend the fence with. And he released this mockumentary, I guess I'll call it, mocking the Ultimate Warrior. Do you have any experiences with the Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah, but I'd rather not even go there. He's different, man. That's all I got to say about Ultimate Warrior.
Let me ask you this. You got into the WWE around 1990. Was there any hesitation at all with, all the troubles that the WWE had in the 80s as to what you maybe were getting into, or were you, kind of young at that time and just excited for the opportunity?
You know what? Everybody, if people have problems, they usually bring the problems on themselves, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I've never been afraid of going anywhere or doing anything I want because I'm my person, you know what I'm saying? I live my own lifestyle. I did my own things, I was on the road. I stayed out at clubs at nighttime. I did, I had a certain group of guys that I took and hung out with in that because, I knew how they were in that. And I didn't make problems. And I've always been a businessman. And being in professional wrestling, it's a business. And you have to be a businessman. If you don't take care of yourself and don't take, and respect yourself, you won't respect others.
Right.
And there was something up there that scared me. I grew up in Miami, Florida, bro, and I grew up in some tough areas down there coming up, and there was nothing on the road that could shock me or put the fear of God into me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I go to the gym, train, eat, go work at nighttime, and then come back to the hotel and get ready for the next day because it usually was an early day getting out on an airplane and going to your next town.
Well,
yeah.
What ultimately it led to you getting out of the wrestling business?
I had last time I opened a business up in I got into the bar business and restaurant business, and I'd opened a place up in Key West, and I was at the end of my run. They were actually wanting to bring me back in when Quake was doing a sumo deal with Yoko.
Right.
Up there and wrestled a little bit up there, and then at the end I was going between there and my business and that, and with a business, the eye of the owner fastens the horse. And so if you're not there, and especially in the bar business, people do a lot of different things, and try and take advantage of situations. So, I mean, I was getting pulled in two different ways, and plus then my brother-in-law was a partner of mine, and he got shot when we were opening up because he was the one who was supposed to open and run the business for me, and so it all fell into my lap, and I had too much money invested and all that. And it was a multitude of different things.
Right.
I still, I think about maybe working here or there again, but I'd like to be in the best shape of my life if I ever get back in the ring again. I mean, I still feel I could take bumps. I'm here in a town where I have access to a ring because Steve Kern has his school here. And I don't know.
Florida seems kind of to be the hotbed of wrestling in a way. There's a lot of good workers that are chilling down in Florida at this point in time, and there's a lot of training facilities. We do a lot of work with Marty Jannetty on our site, and he's obviously right out of there in Florida.
Yeah.
Do you see that as kind of like the new, maybe, I don't want to say Mecca, but I know like the northern territory for a while there was really kind of producing a lot of the talent. Do you think that's going to shift back toward down south?
I don't know. I mean, it's good here because Florida's always been a place where a lot of wrestlers tend to be because the airports are easy to come in and out of. The weather's always good year-round. It's inexpensive place to live. You get a lot of bang for your buck here. I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of good things about Florida. I mean, it's a great place. I mean, it takes a bad rap. We got a lot of weird people here. Plus, we got lots of hurricanes.
Yeah, that's the hard.
That, you know, it's not a bad place to live.
Absolutely, man. Well, once again, we can't thank you enough for your time, but let me ask you a couple questions about, is your bar still open?
No, I sold it. Sold it, man.
I got out of that business.
3 bars since that one. Actually, we were adult nightclubs. So that, you know, I had 3 adult nightclubs and a sports bar. So, I mean, all of the last 12, 15 years.
Yeah, man. Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us this time. If you see Earthquake, John Tenta, make sure to send our best. We hope that he'll be fine. And once again, if there's anything you need to promote, do you have a website or anything that you want to promote right now?
Nothing set up now. My friend talked to me a couple of times about putting the site together. I may do that pretty soon. As of right now, just, you know, enjoying my children, man, and training every day, getting lean and mean.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you having on the program.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good night. Bye.
Yo, maniacs, this is Hulk Hogan, the greatest of all time, and you're listening to The Blaze, 1260 AM. So what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan in Blaze-a-Mania runs wild on you?
Call the Blaze request line at 480-965-1260. Request your favorite song. 480-965-1260. The Blaze, 1260 AM.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Epicenter here on the Blaze, 1260 AM. Just played a little bit of the Fred Ottman, a.k.a. Typhoon interview. Pleasure to sit down and speak with that guy. He was a class act, man.
He's a classy guy. He seems like he's a nice gentleman. We have a caller on the phone right now. It is Chad from Maine. He joined us last week. Chad, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. How about you?
I believe you're the Ace of Spades on the forums?
I am.
Every time I read that name, I got to do a little Lemmy impression and go, the Ace of Spades! Motorhead song. Sorry, guys.
Right on.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're here. We're going to talk a little TNA, my man.
Huh?
You like TNA?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me how big of a TNA fan you are.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot bigger than WWE, trust me.
Really?
Yeah,
I've ordered all their 3-hour pay-per-views, so...
Yeah, and he's got AJ Styles up on his avatar, so he's a big TNA supporter, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. An avatar equals big supporter.
Well, yes, I have a Hulk Hogan avatar. I'm a big Hulk Hogan supporter. Now I have a rock and roll will never die or whatever avatar, and I'm a big rock supporter. So what can you say, dude? You usually wear your heart on your sleeve. You have a Scott Steiner avatar, you're a big Scott Steiner supporter.
I like Scott Steiner, but I'm not here to talk about Scott Steiner. I'm here to talk about total non-stop action.
But Chuck,
this is what we missed last week. It was kind of tough because they were on a Thursday. They had their 2-hour special. This was phenomenal. This was off the chain. Everything to me hit on all cylinders. I want to start out with the first match of the evening, which was Jeff Hardy, Lance Hoyt, Sabu versus the Diamonds in the Rough. And I'll tell you what, I was kind of actually pleased to see Simon Diamond actually get in there and tango a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Simon Diamond's a great guy, great worker. Good to see him. By the way, there's nothing finer than talking about Scott Steiner.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. But we're going to talk a little bit about TNA, and that might actually be finer, so I might have just lied. I thought TNA was a phenomenal show. Good way to start out the show. We're not going to go match by match, are we?
No.
All right. Well, I thought it was a good way to start out the show. Good to see Simon Diamond getting in there. Good to see all the spot monkeys on one team and all the good workers on the other, and it was good to see.
Is Lance Hoyt now been relegated to spot monkey status?
Not really, but I'm just kind of being a little bit of a jerk.
Oh, what about Sabu? Aren't we always saying he can work?
Yeah, but I know, like I said, I'm just kind of being a little bit of a jerk.
I love it.
Yeah. Hey. Why not? What'd you think of this match, Chad?
Not a bad match. Good choice for the opener, for sure. He got the crowd into it, but it wasn't the best match, but I wasn't expected to be either.
Right.
Right, so what was your favorite match of this evening?
Probably, actually, 3D versus Team Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this match was lackluster. It bored me.
Did it?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it wasn't bad, don't get me wrong. It just didn't seem to have the big-time feel that I thought it required.
I'm pretty big Team Canada, Mark, so that could have something to do with it.
I got to tell you the truth. I thought that was a phenomenal match, too. And I will tell you something, and I wanted to say this to Scott D'Amore. I think this Eric Young kid is phenomenal.
Yeah, he is.
This guy can bump like no other. I mean, he takes sick bumps, and he looks like he's dead after him. I love it.
he's got his character down too. You watch him on the entrance, he just looks.
Yeah, you know what he reminds me of, and I think this is what they're going for? He reminds me of Tweak from South Park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what he looks like. I mean, he's got the blonde hair going for him, so why not? Go with it. It's kind of funny, too.
You know, I'm not necessarily a fan of any individuals in Team Canada. I obviously like P.D. Williams, but I think they're a good, like, little faction.
He just said overrated.
P.D. Williams is overrated.
I like Petey, but he's overrated.
Yes,
Dude,
he
that
is.
finisher is so sick, though.
Yeah, he's got a
He's got
good
a great
finishing move.
finisher,
He's got a
but-
great finisher, but he's overrated, and I'll tell you why. Anybody here order Bound for Glory?
Hey, listen, we got to let the caller talk here, my man, but yes, go ahead.
All right, I'll let him talk right after I say this. If you watch Bound for Glory, you see the reaction of this kid. He catches the X, they say he wins the match. He's the heel. He should be happy he won the match, regardless how he won it. Instead, he looked pissed off.
Well, dude, it was a botched match. It was.
Yes, but if you're playing a character and you're on the camera, you act the way you're supposed to act. I don't care what you're feeling inside. You act the way you're supposed to act. You never kayfabe on camera.
Well, you must really hate wrestling then, dude, because we're in an era where kayfabe doesn't exist, which actually gives me an opportunity. So conveniently. I want to give a shout out to my man Dynamite Kid. He's doing his things, and I forget what his call is. Beautiful Bobby, I think he calls himself, over there on Kayfabe Tuesdays. Make sure you check them out. They just did a phenomenal show answering your questions from the WrestlingEpicenter.com forums. And rumor has it they're going to be doing a little bit of coverage on the Jake the Snake DVD next week.
And next week after that, and you can submit questions right now, the Birdman, Coco Beware, will be joining Kayfabe Tuesdays next Tuesday, not this coming Tuesday, but a week from this coming Tuesday. And you have time to submit questions now over at WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Right on. Hey, Chad, man, we appreciate you calling in. We appreciate the support. And
Well, one last thing.
Oh.
Do you want to shoot on PD just a little bit more, or are you done?
Yeah, I'm pretty cool with that.
All right, well, just give. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, like I say, he's definitely got talent. Go back and watch his Turning Point last year versus Saban. Good match. Showed that he's definitely not, as you would call a spot monkey. He can work.
Right.
I think that Rude is extremely underrated. Young is extremely overlooked.
Yeah, Eric Young is phenomenal. I think that guy is going to be a possible future X Division champion. He can't fly quite the way these other guys do, but the way this guy gets bumped is phenomenal. He sells everything perfectly.
All right, well, my man Chad, we appreciate you calling in. Hopefully we'll hear from you next week, man. And thanks for all the work and posting you do on the forums, man. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, have a good one, man.
That was the Ace of Spades from the forums. I gotta give him a shout out. Good avatar, good poster. I love everything he has to say on there. Has a different perspective on the world of wrestling, and he's always welcome to call here. And speaking of calling in, why don't you call in right now? 480-965-1260. Got about 15 minutes left on the air, so hurry up and give us your questions, give us your thoughts, have your voice heard.
I'm laughing inside right now. Do you know why?
Why?
And let me laugh out loud. It's great. You know what's happened here? They got this good pay-per-view coming up at Genesis. Lots of surprises, lots of high-profile matchups. And who's ominously left off the card and been moved to Saturday? The two ROH stars, Austin Aries and Samoa Joe. Yes, it's true. They cannot even get on pay-per-view. That's how over Ring of Honor wrestlers really are.
Wow, dude, that's pretty strong words from a man who does not respect the Ring of Honor product. I gotta be honest with you.
I love Ring of Honor product. There's just these people that they cannot be pushing as main eventers. It's ridiculous.
Well, here's the deal. My problem with a lot of things is not the thing itself, but the crowd reaction to the thing. That's my problem with the rap music. I don't hate the music. Well, I do, but not really. I hate the people that act like they're doing something
I think
new.
we probably shouldn't even get on this on the air. That's not what we're here for, is it?
With Ring of Honor, I don't hate the product. I think the product is phenomenal. You're talking into the mic. I think the product is phenomenal. I think that the crowd reaction on the internet with this elitist attitude is ridiculous.
Well, you know, I was just trying to get the caller on the line. We got Patrick Litz from the Weekend Warriors of Wrestling joining us now. We're talking a little bit about this Ring of Honor deal, my man, and how funny I thought it was that Samoa Joe has been there, he's been undefeated, and he can't even get on the Genesis pay-per-view.
He is on the Genesis pay-per-view.
No, he got moved to Saturday night, my man.
What?
Him and Austin Aries tangoing Saturday night.
He's supposed to be in like a two-team, there's like an X Division Survivor Series match, and he's going to be on one of the teams.
Well, you know what? I'm looking at it right now. Elimination.
Go to TNAWrestling.com.
See, I don't have this in my notes as of airtime. Perhaps I'm mistaken.
Perhaps you are mistaken. If you are, shame on you.
Yeah, I guess so. Shame on me, man. I don't know. I usually don't make too many errors, but hey.
Yeah, well, shame on me too because I didn't correct you. So.
Well, I guess we overlooked Samoa Joe, which is hard to do because he's a big boy.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. How do you look? How do you look past Samoa Joe? You take 3 steps sideways and lean way over. Sorry, I had to take a fat joke.
It's okay. It's okay.
So, Patroclus,
Yo.
out of all these things that happened in these 2 hours of TNA Impact that we saw last Thursday, what was your favorite moment?
Honestly, I really enjoyed the Jarrett Rhino main event.
It was very good.
I got to tell you this, and I'm going to call Chuck out here. Chuck has been very critical of Mr. Jeff Jarrett. Have you not, Chuck?
Not overly.
Well, you've been sort of critical. You don't think he should be world champion, and I think your exact words was after seeing that match, you now understand why Jeff Jarrett is in that role.
Never.
You said it.
No, I did not say he
You might not. You said it. What did you?
Okay, what did you say, Chuck?
I said I can understand why Jeff Jarrett is a main eventer for this company. I do not believe he should have the championship belt to this day. I've never hedged on that.
Okay.
I think I gave him a little bit of a shortchange. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I have no trouble doing it. In his workability and his ring psychology, and I think I was kind of the same way on Raven. I didn't think Raven had the ability to have a lot of ring psychology, and these two both proved me wrong in this aspect. I still think Jeff Jarrett having the title is bad for TNA.
Raven has yet to wrestle on Spike TV.
What'd I say?
You said Raven.
I meant Rhino. My apologies.
Okay, good.
Okay. So yeah, it was a tremendous match. As far as Jarrett being the champion, Eric, who's my co-host on the Weekend Warrior show, brought up a good point. Having Jarrett win the title makes you feel like if you don't tune into Impact, you're going to miss something big.
That is a fair point.
That is a really good point.
People tune in.
But again, this is it'd be a different scenario if we're saying TNA did this for that reason. They didn't have this all happen for that reason. We talked to Scott Demore about this, and man, they were scrambling at the last minute. You can hear that full interview at WrestlingEpicenter.com, trying to get a situation done where they could compensate for the lack of Kevin Nash, and this has happened to be how it went down.
I bet that was chaos back there. I can't imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah, he was kind of putting over how many people worked there and how it was a benefit that night to have so many people who were able to give some input.
Absolutely, and he really should give those people the input because for a situation that was terrible, they managed to scrape together all the chicken bleep, as he put it, and make chicken salad out of it. And that pay-per-view, while it wasn't as good as their other pay-per-views tend to be, Bountiful Glory was not a bad pay-per-view by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all.
And, I got to talk about this again, and I harp on it every week. I loved it. Monty Brown versus Brian Gamble.
Oh, that was great. That was great. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Hold on. I'm the Monty Brown mark here. Let me have my moment of glory.
You're not alone.
Mark's here.
All right.
I am.
No, I'm like the
No, I am.
This guy pounced this guy one time, picked the guy back up, and the guy was selling really well. Then he pounced him again. And then the crowd kept chanting, one more time.
No, they can't chanted that after the first one.
So I said kept.
Yeah.
Right. Insinuating they did it the first time.
No, that does not insinuate.
So, well, if they did kept, then I don't understand how you can keep doing something if you didn't do it in the first place.
Well, I mean, they could start doing it. I can keep saying that you're wrong right now, but that doesn't mean I said you were wrong 10 minutes ago.
Well, yeah, that would.
Aha! How about that?
No, that doesn't make any sense. It's the tense of what you're speaking.
So, Mr. Yamagato.
So there, but nevertheless, he picked this dude up, right? And the third time, this guy was like barely able to stand, and I think it was legit. Monty Brown was doing all he could. You could see his muscles kind of straining, trying to get this kid up. I think he pounced the crap right out of this kid, and I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal.
Well, he was a former football player, so
I mean,
they know how to tackle.
He hit that guy kind of hard, and the guy the last time didn't even sell. He didn't jump. He just fell over.
It looked like he just completely knocked the crap out of this guy, and I could not have loved it more than I did. I started laughing in my chair and applauding. And if you can get that kind of reaction out of me in a business like this, then guess what? You're doing a good job.
Indeed, but
let me say this: one match that they're going to have at Genesis is Jeff Hardy versus Monty Brown for #1 contendership for the title.
Right.
If Jeff Hardy wins that match, I'm going to be pissed off.
It can't happen. It won't happen.
Well, it happened once before. Back when they were doing the Wednesday pay-per-views, they were in the exact same situation. It was Monty Brown against Jeff Hardy for the #1 contendership, and guess who went over?
Well, that was different circumstances because they were trying to give Hardy was like their big star that they were bringing in, so Hardy needed to get the win there. But now I think Monty Brown has more value than Jeff Hardy does at this point.
All right, Patrick, listen, we appreciate you calling in, buddy. Going to give you your show plug as well. Weekend Warriors of Wrestling, WrestlingEpicenter.com on our forums. It's my man Patrick, along with Eric. They're on every weekend. Hopefully we'll have their show up for you this Sunday. So make sure you check out our site for that, man. Patrick, thank you for calling in, my man.
Not a problem.
Have a good one.
Guys.
All right. For you, once again, can call. We only have a little bit of time left, so make sure you do it right away. The number is 480-965-1260. That's 480-965-1260. We're trying to get as many of your calls in, which is the reason for the bit of the format change. Chuck, what else did you like about this show?
Well, I want to have someone call in that wants to talk to me about this X Division match. The Ultimate X. Petey Williams, Matt Bentley, and Chris Sabin. There's a lot of elements here that I really enjoyed. You know, I love Scott D'Amore being involved. I love Tracy and her involvement. And there was actually a little bit more psychology than I anticipated for such a high-flying type of match.
Absolutely.
I mean, these guys worked legs. They worked, arms. They actually worked, things that made sense in this setting.
Absolutely. It's tough to do in a match like that. It's pretty much a spot fest in those kind of matches, and it's become the norm to see a spot fest in those matches, which is sort of what you'd expect from any gimmick match. I mean, look at the most famous gimmick match of all time, arguably, was the Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Mankind. And what was that? A spot fest. It was built around two big bumps. So there you go. You got guys that are known to be high flyers, which usually translate to spot fests or spot monkeys. And they went and had a phenomenal match. They had their spots, but they made the spots make sense. And that's something a lot of the high flyers cannot do.
Well, I kind of found a newfound respect for Chris Sabin. I had not really been aware of Chris Sabin. Really what his role was in TNA, what he even did there. But at this point in time, I'm getting my headset turned off here. This is terrible. At this point in time, I don't even know what's happening right now. I'm talking about Chris Sabin. There we go. Now I can hear myself. Chris Sabin, I had not known a lot about this guy. I had not had the opportunity to see him in action. And this kind of really showed me a new light to him. This guy has some psychology to him. I'll give you that his look may be a little generic. But nonetheless, he put on a phenomenal match and was able to definitely hold his own with Matt Bentley and Petey Williams.
I don't think his look is that generic. I think Petey Williams has a generic look that he's working on. I think that's a problem that a lot of these X Division guys have, and I really hate it. I hate that every X Division guy comes out wearing these little shorts, and they all do the same freaking moves. You got to be something different. AJ Styles already in the company. You're not going to one-up this guy. Do something else.
Well, I think we ought to spend a little bit of time on this next pay-per-view we got coming up. We covered pretty much everything that happened in that 2-hour special. I want to talk about the 6-man main event. Rhino and Team 3D versus Jeff Jarrett and America's Most Wanted Comic Genesis on the 13th of November, this upcoming Sunday. I'll tell you what, Kip James, special guest referee. Something's happening here.
Yeah, oh yeah. You don't know if you can trust him. He's going to be the special guest referee if I believe it is a stick match of some sort, a hockey stick match. And what the matches is, it's 3 live crew squaring off against Team Canada, and it's going to be very interesting to see what Kip James does. This could be where, as Conan teased, Mr. Kip James turns heel on the 3 live crew, as does Billy Gunn. No, as does BG James, pardon me. And we see a reformation of sorts of the New Age Outlaws.
You know what I'm excited to see?
What's that?
This no disqualification match. You know it, Sabu.
No DQ.
I love these hardcore rules, man.
Yeah, you gotta love it, man.
Sabu, the Monster Abyss with James Mitchell. When I saw Sabu come out there with that barbed wire wrapped around his arm, man, I marked out. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is sick. The guy is sick.
Now, I was just looking online, and Patrick Liss indeed was correct. Again, Chuck D having a little faults here toward the end of the show. But there is an X Division Championship elimination match, X Division elimination match. Elimination rules, there's a Fallen Angel Shark Boy, or a Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, my lord. The Samoan Submission Machine Samoa Joe, Alex Shelley, Roderick Strong. They'll be taking on Chris Sabin, Matt Bentley, the original player from the Himalaya, Sanjay Dutt, and Austin Aries. So actually both Ring of Honor guys do get their spot on Genesis.
Yes, they do. I bet you have egg on your face now, huh, Ben?
No, I don't have egg on my face. I just didn't have the up-to-date results.
Well, what can you say? What can you do about that, man? What can you do about that?
Not a whole lot. At least I can admit my mistakes.
Yes, yeah. I wish I had that ability. You check out www.tnawrestling.com for the entire card. It's going to be a phenomenal show. What else we got on tap?
Christian's going to be there.
Well, that is up in the air. We think it's Christian, but we don't know it for sure.
Listen, Christian's going to be there, and it's going to be phenomenal. And I think Jackie Gate is going to debut, and I think this Raven feud's finally going to have a little bit of a payoff of this Raven angle, I should say. Every time we see him, he's getting ushered off by Larry Zbyszko. No one really knows exactly why. A lot of people that may just be tuning in don't understand what's happening. There's not really been a lot of backdrop discussed, and I think it's all going to finally come to fruition here at this Genesis pay-per-view. I think it's about time.
I think it is about time. I think that it's kind of odd that they just keep throwing him out of the building when he's pretty much looked calm the past couple weeks. I mean, at that last Saturday Impact, he looked fine. He did not look upset, and he slapped that generic indie dude in the face. I don't know who he was, but, I mean, the bottom line is Raven does not strike me as a danger at this point, and the fact that they keep throwing him out is kind of confusing me as to what they're going for.
Well, let me give you a little prediction here.
What's that?
I'm looking at the card, and I'm seeing Rhino and Team 3D versus Jeff Jarrett and America's Most Wanted. It's going to be the main event.
I don't like that main event.
Well, let me finish my prediction here, man.
I don't like it.
I got to say that Team 3D is going to obviously have their beef with AMW. I think Rhino and Jeff Jarrett are going to have their beef, and I think Raven's going to come out, and I think he's going to totally blindside Rhino with help from Jackie Gata, his new girlfriend.
Entirely possible, but I don't know. I hate tag team main events on a pay-per-view. I think people that are tuning in want to see a title match in this setting. I'm usually a fan of slowing down your booking process, and that sort of is what they're doing here. But I'm not sure that if I was TNA, I'd be willing to do it at the risk of being in competition with the WWE.
Well, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I mean, not every single pay-per-view can have, a tag team main event, obviously. But TNA's given us a lot of high-quality main events, and I think this is going to prove to help build storylines. In that capacity, I think a tag team main event is fine.
Right, and is AJ even on this card? Is he in the tag match?
Oh, no, AJ's not in a tag match. He's going against Team Canada's Peter Williams. That was his, prize for winning the X Division Ultimate X match.
Do not be at all surprised if the tag match is the second to last match on the card.
That's not how it's getting billed, man. It's getting billed as main event.
Do not be surprised. They usually, if they have a tag team match, they usually go off with a bang, which is the phenomenal X Division match. They did that at the Unbreakable pay-per-view. It was a tag team main event, but it ended up being a phenomenal X Division match that went off on the card. And that's, what happens.
Well, you know what else I'm kind of excited about here on TNA?
What else are you excited about?
So, we were talking a little bit earlier. They finally got Jackie Gata, right?
Yeah.
They got Cal Kim.
Right.
Tracy Brooks.
Uh-huh.
That's 3. Slowly but surely, they're building a little women's division here. Slowly.
And I hope to God they don't bring in a pizza pie face, pockmark, no talent hag that used to be a stunt worker. That's now dating a midget. Chuck is looking stunned at me right now. I don't want to see her.
Chuck is never stunned. I want you to continue on.
Well, I don't want to see her there. I think it's phenomenal that she was there the whole time, and she decided to pull the cord.
Listen, let's
right before they got on Spike TV. I love it. I love it.
Listen, if you want to be bad man,
yeah,
and you'd like to shoot,
right,
to do it properly.
Say the name.
Go ahead and start over.
All right.
Who sucks?
Trinity sucks.
And why? Do you feel she sucks?
Dude, do I really have to get into the whole emotional story here? The bottom line is this. She doesn't understand wrestling. She was trained by a bunch of school kids because Mikey Whipwreck didn't show up to train her at his own training school. She does not understand the business. She doesn't know how to chain work. She's a spot monkey. She's not even that attractive, and I'm glad she's not going to be a part.
Let me ask you this.
What's that?
Let's take a little minute at the end of the show here.
All right.
Let's get inside the mind of James Walsh.
Oh, boy. This could be a dangerous, dangerous ride.
Now, what possesses you to feel the urge to shoot on Trinity?
What possesses me to take the time to shoot on Trinity?
No, what gives you the urge, the initial urge? In your head it says, I need to shoot.
Dude? Here's the deal. When somebody takes the time out of their busy schedule, months after a situation goes down, to post on their official website a response to something I wrote about somebody else weeks prior or months prior, and take personal shots about my vision, well, then that person proves to me that they are a piece of garbage. They are lower than a snake's belly, and I have no trouble, ever, shooting on them if the opportunity arises. And that will always be the way I operate.
All right, let me ask you this.
What's that?
See, you're not used to this aspect of radio.
What's up?
We do a lot of interviews with other people.
Right.
This is like Chuck D interviewing James Walsh right now.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Okay. Now, we talked about the Trinity situation, why you feel the need to shoot on her.
Right.
What's the need to shoot on other people? Explain to me what the benefits or
who did I shoot on?
No, I'm not saying you did. I'm just asking you in your mind, what about shooting on people is exciting for you?
I don't like to shoot on people. Who do I shoot on?
Oh, I mean, you've had some spats with people. You know what I mean?
Who do I shoot on?
Well, I see. I'm not.
You want to ask me questions? Let me ask you a question. Who do I shoot on?
I'm not really willing to mention names. I'm just saying in general. You have no problem, it seems, calling people
Here's
out.
the deal.
And I'm not saying that
It's the way of the world. The way I work is this, dude. You're gonna have correspondence with me. Either do me right or you do me wrong. And if you do me wrong, I have a field. I have a forum, if you will, to come out here and let my opinions be heard. Therefore, if you screw with me, and it has to be something pretty bad in order for me to even take it to this level, if you screw with me, I will take every opportunity to make sure you're aware of what you've done and that everybody else is aware of it too. You do not take cheap shots at people. I don't take cheap shots at people. I tell it like it is. If they're a piece of human garbage, they're a piece of human garbage. And I'm not saying anybody is. We're at this point in time. But I'm just telling you, if you behave like an idiot, I will call you an idiot. I call a spade a spade. I don't believe in political correctness. I believe in telling it like it is.
Now, do you believe, and again, I'm not saying this is, I'm not interjecting any personal thought here. Do you believe that I don't know, it's always a good idea to throw your opinion out there to the masses to hear. There's always been an old adage that I was personally raised with, and this is the first thing. And I'm not saying that the way you conduct yourself is wrong in any way.
Let me guess.
Hold on.
If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
That's right. My mom was always a big proponent of that shit, Chuck. If you're gonna be an ass, just don't even bother.
Well, let me explain this to you.
And I'm not saying that you're being an ass.
The way I work. Yeah, you are. But
no, I'm not. I'm saying me. That's what my mother used to say to me.
All right, Chuck. Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
When you were a kid, did you ever have a slingshot?
I did not.
Did you ever see a slingshot in your life?
I have.
When you pull back on the slingshot, and you pull, 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 and you just keep pulling, what happens eventually?
You can get a rock to go pretty far.
Well, yeah. Eventually that thing that you pull back shoots forward.
Right.
I'm shooting forward.
You're shooting forward.
I always shoot straight. And that's what happens. I'm a rubber band. If you can push me a little bit. And you can push and you can push and you can push. Eventually I'm going to snap back. And when I snap back, I'm going to snap hard.
See, I don't know. I've always personally felt like, being on the radio has kind of been a privilege for me. And that, I always wanted...
I feel very fortunate to be here.
No, I'm talking me now.
All right.
I've been fortunate to be given the opportunity to speak on the radio. And I never felt like my opinions were necessarily really that valid for people to hear. I'll offer them to people.
Then you should probably not host a talk show.
I don't necessarily feel like my opinions are, necessarily valid. I try and just show some points. Do you ever get the impression that,
Are we out of time here that you're just sitting here asking me these questions?
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, Teal asked us to stretch things out a little bit.
Okay.
And so, we covered TNA.
Right.
Covered Raw.
Right.
So I'm basically in this creek right now.
Oh, so you're just asking me, you're interviewing me for that purpose?
I'm in a creek of poop right now, and I ain't got a paddle.
Oh, boy. Dude, we always have plenty of stuff to talk about.
Well, I ain't got nothing to say.
You don't have anything to say, so you're going to ask me questions to make me feel like the biggest idiot on the planet.
I'm not making you feel like an idiot. I'm just posing questions to you.
All right, go ahead and pose me another question.
So, listen.
Right.
Is it? I don't know. I get the impression this may be sort of a wrestling thing.
Right.
Which, again, I've never pulled any punches I'm not necessarily privy to.
Right.
In the wrestling business, kind of giving your opinion and doing it with strong conviction almost seems to be a must on a lot of, internet websites, a lot of the wrestlers themselves. Is that what you find to be true of like, the wrestling, fan base and culture?
I think wrestlers are not necessarily the most educated people, and that's why they do it. I am personally quite educated. I am a college veteran, I guess you could say, so I know exactly what I'm doing and saying. The bottom line is this, though. I never take shots at people that I don't think are not deserving. And if you notice, I never take shots at the wrong people. Like, if I'm going to take a shot, I won't make it on Vince McMahon. I'll make it about some indie diva that nobody cares about. And that's because they personally affected me. And even then, if she was the owner of a company, I probably wouldn't shoot on her. Like, I don't like, for example, Miss Jasmine St. Clair all that much. But I don't shoot on her.
You kind of just did inadvertently.
No, I mean, I'm not that big of a fan of hers, but I don't take the time to say she sucks or she's, well, she does, and we've seen it on film, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, they have Jasmine St. Clair? Sorry.
Yeah, Jasmine St. Clair was a wrestling promoter at one point. Yeah, yeah. Why? What do you think of her? We got Teal, the gay man on campus here. What do you think of Jasmine?
She's kind well, the one time I saw her, it was on Jerry Springer, and she was kind of scrawny.
She was on Jerry Springer?
Yeah, like this was before she supposedly was getting into porn. She like came on to Jerry, stripped down to like her bra and panties, and you could see her rib cage. It was really gross. And then like a year later was when she did the whole record gangbang flick, and they're talking about how they were packing her with ice and everything and all that great stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
Yeah, Jasmine St. Clair's a bird of another feather. I mean, I don't have anything to really say about anyone. I'm in no way.
Maybe this is it, dude. Maybe hold on a second. Maybe, and I'm not shooting on you here, so don't take it personally, but I've been doing this for 3 years. Just the other day was my 3rd year officially doing wrestling interviews. And in that time, I've had to meet some people in this business. And I find that most people in this business are 95% good. But there is that 5% of people in this business that are pieces of human garbage, and if they push me far enough and take personal shots about my personal affairs, I'm going to shoot on them. That is your price. That is the price you pay when you screw with James Walsh.
Now let me ask you this. Was shoot interviews in wrestling always so popular in shoot style conversation?
No. I mean, there's a show on our website called Kayfabe Tuesdays, and back then you never shot on anything. You never knew what the wrestlers really feel. These days, you got shoot interviews coming out with people saying, you know, Vince McMahon has sex with goats, which is not true, by the way, but that's kind of the things these people say because they get fired and they're upset and they're just venting. And people love that stuff. We're actually working on doing a couple shoot interview style things that we kept teasing a little bit today. And that person will be out here hopefully in mid-December. And, you know, people will see what a shoot interview is all about.
You see, I guess maybe I'm just a little perplexed here because I've never been privy to a business. You know, I've obviously done my rap show for 8 years, and I've talked to a lot of people in the music industry.
Come on, dude. Now, let's not say that rappers don't shoot on each other. They shoot each other, literally.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
So, you know, even in the music industry, you know, people talk about how cutthroat and backstabbing is. Even that's really done in silence. You know, it's not a lot of things. I'm only speaking from my personal experiences.
Well, I'm a fan of the guys that get in the face of anybody. For example, let's talk about Vince Neil. 3 years ago, Vince Neil was driving down the street in Hollywood. Sees a record producer. Recognizes him. Realizes this is one of the people responsible for crap music like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Jumps out of his car, punches the guy in the face, breaks his jaw, the guy falls down and breaks his arm. That, my friend, is rock and roll.
Well, again, I wasn't trying to get into a music discussion. I was simply stating
Well, I'm saying that it exists out there. It's just that it's not covered as strongly on the internet because there's not that. Wrestling's a different animal.
Well,
we don't get covered.
Can I finish for a minute,
we don't get covered in newspapers. We don't get covered in mainstream magazines. What we have is we have the internet, and that's why all this seems like it's so out there and everybody's shooting on everybody. It happens everywhere else. It's just more mainstream, and we don't really understand it or accept it as much, or wrapped in it as much.
Well, that's what I was trying to convey before, was that in my time of 8 years of doing radio and things like that, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've even met a lot of people face-to-face, and I've never really had any sort of inclination for people in the music industry, or even in film for that matter, to really shoot openly. And I don't know, I gotta say it's a little disconcerting that the wrestling business, and it's kind of run that way. It seems like, you know, the music business is extremely cutthroat, film industry is obviously very cutthroat. But these people, you know, we're talking getting mainstream press, as you said, being on the radio and whatnot, are always a little bit more tight-lipped. And I just wonder where exactly in wrestling did it become a good idea to you know, shoot or you know, call out other people who are trying to make a living. You want to know what really
changed the business, and I think I know what you're digging at? It really hit the fan in terms of shooting on each other with Bret the Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels. Those guys went at it tooth and nail.
Do you think that's what was the turning point?
Yes, that was absolutely the turning point. That became so real and understood by the mainstream that Vince McMahon had to turn himself heel. He had to step from behind the announce desk, which he was, and become a heel character because the fans turned him heel. They hated him. That's what happened. You saw a little realism, and it just blew up from there. Everything became so open and so honest, and the internet seemed to get more and more in-depth in what they cover. Like, we have a news board, WrestlingEpicenter.com. We're constantly covering news. We knew today, just hours after it happened, Batista's hurt. We knew today that just this morning, Christian went and copyrighted at the U.S. Postal Office or whatever it is, the name Christian Cage. We know within hours these days of when things happen, whereas in the old days, you'd have to buy PW Pro Wrestling Insider or Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine and read it there, and that was only once a month. And even that was not nearly as up-to-date or nearly as open as it is now.
Hey, it's been good having a little candid conversation with you, my man.
Oh, I thought you were going off on me for shooting out Trinity.
No.
Oh, okay. I was afraid you're like, why do you have to do that? And I'll be honest with you, and we're going to close out here in just a second. The only reason I saw fit to shoot on her is because she decided to get in a conversation about my personal affairs, and that is my vision. And if there's a no-no with me, you don't go there. And when you push that button, you've made yourself an enemy for life. And any time I get a chance to shoot on her, I'll do it. And if you want to sue me, call me up.
I don't know. Can he even be sued for that?
They can say it's defamation of character, but I'd like to find out what exactly was inaccurate about it. Freedom of speech is a very powerful law, so if they want to try to sue me, go for it. I'll laugh at your lawyer just like I did last time.
Well, again, all I was trying to say was, interesting to have a little time. We don't usually have the time at the end of the show to talk about anything else.
Yeah, I kind of like this new format. What do you think?
I thought it went over pretty well.
Yeah, I kind of feel good. I feel good about it. I'm kind of happy. I've not been happy the past couple of months. I mean, there's been good shows, and there's been a couple that I've not been as happy with. Today, I'm happy.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. We got some great guests coming up next week, so you're gonna want to.
Oh yeah, we got big guests. Can I tell?
No.
No. Can I?
Hey, what did Francine even do today?
What did Francine even do?
She kept her cards close to her chest. You know what I'm saying? You don't display your hand to anybody.
All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. WrestlingEpicenter.com. Listen to both interviews in their entirety. There's so much you did not get a chance to hear. And I will also say this. Check it out Monday night, right after Raw. We will post who our guest will be this week.
Even that soon?
Wednesday. Even that soon you don't like?
Well, no. You know what? I'm thinking I want to wait till we get the interview completely done.
Okay.
Which should be tomorrow if all goes well.
Right.
I think we can even post on it tomorrow.
You want to post it tomorrow?
I think we can.
All right, if that's what you want to do. I mean, just keep your eyes peeled at
listen,
WrestlingEpicenter.com.
There's only one media day, and there's only one show that's going to be able to grab this interview, and it's going to be us.
You know why?
Because we're that damn good.
You smell that? That's us, because we're the stuff.
Oh, that was whack. Anyway, guys, we really got to wrap this up. I hope Teal can come in here at some point in time and do his show. I don't know exactly where he's been. I guess I'm going to start it for him. So, yeah. We appreciate you listening in. We'll be back next Wednesday here, 8:30.
Want to thank everybody who joined us. Want to thank Typhoon, Fred Ottman. Want to also thank the Queen of Extreme, Francine. Always a pleasure talking to her. She's one of the best. She's one of a kind. I mean, joins us every single week, as well as TNA creative team member Scott Demore. Thank you all for joining us this week. Next week, we promise big things. We could have an... I won't say that. Just keep tuning in to the website, WrestlingEpicenter.com. You've been listening to the Wrestling Epicenter. For Chuck, this is James, here on The Blaze, 1260 AM.
The Blaze, 1260 AM, KASC, Tempe, Arizona.